In the Korean police force, there exists a department called the Supervisory Board. This is a place where criminals are not afraid, but the police are extremely wary because the Supervisory Board has only one task: to expose the crimes of police officers who violate professional principles. For this reason, no police officer wants to work here and expose internal affairs to the public. This shows that the police force itself is not very clean. Only honest and upright police officers have the courage to take on the important task in the Supervisory Board. Who is that? Please watch the movie to find out. Police officer Kim Dong-gun is on duty supervising traffic when he accidentally sees a car run a red light. He immediately rides his motorbike to chase after the white car that refuses to stop, speeding recklessly and escaping. He is an extremely daring person. Dong-gun accelerates and blocks the car, forcing the driver out after checking his ID. Dong-gun learns the driver's name is Sun Bung-ji-I. He initially intended to just fine him and let him go, but Sun Bung-ji-I kept acting strangely. The strange behavior aroused suspicion in Dong-gun. He made the old man open the trunk of his car to check, and unexpectedly found a child's shoe inside. Dong-gun wanted to pull the old man out of the car, but discovered blood on his hand. He was also stabbed in the arm with a screwdriver by the old man, who then took the opportunity to escape. Dong-gun immediately drove after the old man, abandoned his car, and continued driving. Dong-gun had to call the police station for assistance. Later, he followed the old man to a park. The old man took a child hostage and forbade Dong-gun from following him, but he was determined not to give up. Dong-gun fired a shot at Sun, hitting him in the shoulder, but still lost track of him. Luckily, he found a bloodstain. Based on it, Dong-gun went to a house. Just then, Captain Jang of the investigation team and a police officer arrived. They were going inside to arrest John, but because he was injured, he had to wait outside. By chance, he discovered the house sign belonged to Sun Bung-ji and his daughter. Only now did Dong-gun realize that the girl being held hostage was Sun's daughter. Moreover, Dong-gun found it strange that he hadn't even reported the house's location to Captain Jang yet. We can find our way here. Dong-gun was about to go into the house to check the situation when he realized the door was locked. Knowing something was wrong, he immediately rushed in. Dong-gun went to check on Sun's wounds and discovered that besides the bullet wound, there was another wound in Sun's abdomen. Sun leaned close to Dong-gun's ear and warned him to be careful. Unexpectedly, the policeman was about to stab Dong-gun. Sun's daughter, hiding nearby, saw this through the mirror. The clever girl ran out to save her father and Dong-gun. The policeman quickly hid and left. At that moment, Dong-gun also discovered that the head of the patrol and the police officer who went to arrest someone had no reason to wear gloves. Both were told to take them off immediately and leave, using the excuse that Gun had fired a gun illegally, so they took him back to the station to warn Captain Jang. The police officer who had been with him earlier was actually trying to force Gun to conceal what had just happened. Captain Jang turned off the camera to avoid this. However, Gun was a tough nut to crack. He immediately subdued the police officer, and Captain Jang had to send more police, other and rescue for subordinates. At that time, the head of the Supervisory Board, Z, appeared. He was accompanied by his subordinate, Ruzin. The head of the Supervisory Board wanted to take Dong-gun away, otherwise he would investigate the police's actions of fighting with NHI FAM and the drug use in the interrogation room. If it was discovered that this was a case of coercion, Captain Jang would not be safe either. He had no choice but to let the head of the Supervisory Board take Dong-gun away. Furthermore, the investigation of police crimes must also be handled by the Supervisory Board. After that, the head of the Supervisory Board took Dong-gun back to the Supervisory Board's room. Is the police's abandoned physical training room. Rearranged into a workspace for the team members, only Chief R and Sojin are there. Because their work is highly stigmatized by other police officers, some are wary and cautious, while others hate them intensely. Chief R then asks Dong-gun the reason he was arrested and taken to the station. Seeing the serious expression on Chief R's face, Dong-gun honestly recounts everything. After hearing it, Chief R has many suspicions. He decides to go to the Deputy Minister's office to request an investigation into Captain Jiang of the team. The investigation heard this person's name. The Deputy Minister was extremely surprised because Captain Jang was the most outstanding police officer in the department, who had personally arrested Chairman Kim Sang-jo of the construction group, a tycoon with a ton of corruption and bribery charges, but no police officer could catch him. Thanks to that case, Captain Jang's name rose like a kite in the wind, and he was even personally invited by the president to attend the inauguration ceremony. Captain Zhang's relationships were extremely deep and unpredictable. But the supervisory board was established for that purpose. The head of the board wanted to investigate everything, the entire illicit relationship of Captain Jiang. He took out a photo of Captain Jiang with Chairman Kim. He suspected that the arrest and the rise of Captain Jiang's name were also orchestrated by these two people because not long after being arrested, Chairman Kim was released due to insufficient evidence to convict him. Seeing the resolute attitude of the chief of the department, the deputy minister had to agree with his proposal, while reminding the chief of the department to be extremely careful because his actions also involved the honor of the police. That evening, chief of the department, trembling, went to the hospital room. Old Sun attached a camera to monitor here to see who came to find him. As for the head of the committee, he will go to Old Sun's house to investigate. By chance, the head of the committee discovered Captain Zhang and the policeman also came to the house. He took a picture of the two of them as evidence. Later, Rongan also came. The head of the committee saw him secretly attaching something under Captain Zhang's car and then going into Old Sun's house. He carefully took pictures of the policeman inside the house. He asked the nanny to let him see Old Sun's daughter, but she said that the little girl was asleep. The nanny wanted to use her phone to call someone but was stopped by the police officer. Just then, the little girl came down from upstairs to get a drink of water and was stopped by Captain Zhang for questioning. However, no matter what he asked, the little girl remained silent. Luckily, Zhonggen came to the rescue. The nanny was also hired by him to take care of Sun's daughter. Zhonggen wanted the two police officers to go outside with him to talk so that he wouldn't suspect anything. They reluctantly complied. Seeing Zhonggen constantly interfering in his affairs, the police officer couldn't help but attack him. But he didn't do anything. Suddenly, Chief Ro appeared, and the two sides stopped fighting. He pretended to say that he had been called by Gong Gun to take a statement from Sun's daughter, causing Captain Zhang to leave with the police officer. Then Chief Ro also led Dong Gun to another place to talk. He recounted the investigation into Sun, discovering that he was a close subordinate of Chairman Kim and also an intermediary in exchanging information between the chairman and Captain Zhang. Dong Gun showed no interest in these matters. He only wanted to atone for the person he had shot. Dong Gun turned around. The person who left then, Chief Dong Gun wanted to give him the thing he had attached to Captain Zhang's car. It turned out to be a GPS tracker. Based on that, Chief Dong Gun deduced that Captain Zhang was on his way to the hospital where Old Sun was lying. Dong Gun was worried about Old Sun and wanted to immediately go there with Chief Dong Gun. Upon arriving, Dong Gun discovered the policeman had just left Old Sun's hospital room. He asked him what he had done. The policeman only smiled and said that he had gone to meet a suspect in a kidnapping case. Dong Gun wanted to know more, but the policeman wouldn't say. Chief Dong Gun told him to leave the name. The police went to Dong Gun. Having no other choice, they had to obey. Then the two went to Old Sun's hospital room. There, Chief Ro met an old acquaintance, Lawyer Han, who used to be a prosecutor. Lawyer Han was asked to bail Old Sun out. She dismissed the others so Old Sun could rest. Donggan was still wondering what had happened to Old Sun that required a lawyer to bail him out. Lawyer Han told them that he had committed the crime of kidnapping the son of Chairman Kim of the construction group and admitted that the police were at fault. This made everyone extremely surprised. The kidnapping happened 3 days ago, but Chairman Kim didn't have anyone report it to the police. He even personally asked Lawyer Han to bail out Old Sun, with the intention of asking her to investigate where his son was, not wanting the police to get involved and make a big deal out of it because Chairman Kim feared that Old Sun, in desperation, would harm his son. However, up until now, Lawyer Han still has no clue about the boy's whereabouts. After hearing this, Chief Ro asked Zhonggan to stay at the hospital to look after the old man. Sun then dragged Junie along, asking her to compare the DNA in the child's shoe found in Sun's car with Chairman Kim's DNA to see if his son was really kidnapped as his lawyer claimed. Then, Chief Ro went to X-Run's place. He put away his computer and checked the surveillance camera that she had installed in Sun's hospital room. He saw Zhonggan enter the room and ask Sun about the whereabouts of Chairman Kim's son. He whispered something into Zhonggan's ear, making him angry. Seeing Zhonggan about to punch the patient, Lawyer Han led the bodyguards in to stop him and asked him to leave. Old Sun had something to say to Lawyer Han, but she carefully checked a room and discovered a surveillance camera that Sojin had installed earlier. Lawyer Han immediately knew this was a trick by Chief Ro and asked him to stop eavesdropping. Chief Ro had no choice but to comply. He then called Zhonggan and told him to come to his place. A short while later, Zhonggan arrived and saw the surveillance camera placed in Old Sun's room. Zhonggan was extremely surprised. It turned out that Chief Ro had kept him there to keep watch because he knew for sure that Jong Gun would go inside. He was using Old Sun's daughter, inquiring about clues regarding Chairman Kim's son, but the result was that nothing was found. At that time, Zongan wanted to listen to the conversation between Lawyer Han and Old Sun. But unexpectedly, Lawyer Han didn't trust the chief, so she secretly placed a recording device in the chief's office. The chief was no longer surprised by Lawyer Han's tactics. She was an extremely cunning person. With Lawyer Han involved in this matter, the chief was quite troubled. The next day, the chief took Lawyer Han to meet the deputy minister to tell him about Old Sun's request. It turned out that he had agreed to reveal the location of his son. Chairman Kim only had one request, to go with the boy because, according to what Old Man So said, the kidnapping was orchestrated by the police, so he couldn't trust them. The vice minister agreed to follow Lawyer Han's advice and only sent the head of department to accompany her to prevent Old Man's son from attempting to escape. Lawyer Han also had no objections. Afterwards, everyone went to the hospital to prepare to take Old Man's son to find his son. Chairman Kim and department head gave Old Man's son electronic leg cuffs in case he tried to escape. When getting into the car, they carefully handcuffed Old Man's son's hands as well. Dong-gun followed. The driver in charge of the Zun office monitors everyone's movements and checks every move of Captain Zhang. She informs the head of the committee that Captain Zhang has returned to the station. However, the GPS tracker that Zongan has attached to his car is following the head of the committee's car. It's definitely Captain Zhang's henchman following them. It's impossible to guess his purpose yet, so the head of the committee decided not to alert them. The group went to a deserted road and was suddenly run over by a truck. Then a car of color. A group of masked men appeared, cutting the handcuffs and taking Old Sun away. Chief Ro quickly pulled off the mask of the leader. Unexpectedly, it was Chairman Kim. He and his henchmen forced Old Sun into a car and drove away. Chief R and Jong-gun chased after them but couldn't catch up. He contacted Zun, requesting a check of the electronic leg restraints location, but they had been cut and thrown onto the road, losing signal. Chief Ro then asked Zun to check Chairman Kim's phone location. Suddenly, Captain Zhang's voice rang out from the other end of the line, requesting assistance. Head of Department D knew everything was his doing. Head of Department D didn't bother to say anything more and hung up. After Captain Zhang left, he located Chairman Kim's phone and reported back to Head of Department R. He immediately told Zong-gun to go. Lawyer Han was injured and couldn't go anymore, so he stayed behind to wait for someone to pick him up and take him to the hospital. Head of department had to take the old but not useless car to rescue people. At this time, Old Sun was taken to an abandoned construction site. His henchmen tied his hands and feet so Chairman Kim could butcher him. He threatened Old Sun with a wrench and forced him to talk. He pointed to his son's position, but the old man knew that even if he was honest, Chairman Kim wouldn't forgive him, so he refused to open his mouth. Chairman Kim got angry and hit the old man with a wrench. Then he switched from a wrench to a hammer and continued to harass the old man. Unexpectedly, Chairman Kim received a phone call from Lawyer Han saying that he had violated the contract and she didn't want to continue cooperating. Lawyer Han informed Chairman Kim that a police officer, acting on orders from Captain Jiang, was coming to his location. As soon as she finished speaking, she immediately heard gunshots, just as she had predicted. Guessing the name of the police officer who directly shot Chairman Kim, Lawyer Han also didn't expect her mouth to be so sharp. She turned on the speakerphone to hear what the police officer and Chairman Kim were saying. On this side, Jong-gun heard gunshots and rushed to Chairman Kim's side. He saw him kneeling at the feet of the police officer, begging, but not for himself, but for his missing son. This reminded Jong-gun of a painful childhood memory. He had witnessed his mother kneeling in a pool of blood, still using her last breath to beg the lightning-wielding man not to harm her. The scene returns to reality. The cold-blooded policeman pushes Chairman Kim aside and proceeds to deal with the old man. The policeman takes out a pair of pliers, cuts off his finger, and asks, "Where does human evolution begin?" This question unintentionally startles Lawyer Han, causing her to drop her phone. Previously, she had been arrested and assaulted by a kidnapper who said the exact same thing. Lawyer Han, terrified, experiences hallucinations, seeing a lot of fresh blood on her hand. She doesn't dare pick up the phone to listen further. Gun was also distracted by the haunting past. He hadn't fired to stop the policeman yet. Chief Rose arrived and shouted at the policeman to stop, but he didn't listen and instead fired back, shooting straight into Sun's heart. Chief Rose let the policeman escape. He and Gun ran to check on Chairman Kim, who was unconscious on the ground, while Sun was seriously injured. Knowing he was going to die, He left a message for Gun: "Please save Chairman Kim's son, who is being held captive in the basement of Sun Dong's old house in his hometown." At that time, he also entrusted his daughter to Gong Gun, asking him to convey his father's final apologies to the little girl. After the old man's son closed his eyes and passed away, Chief Ro called an ambulance, but it was too late. He immediately issued a warrant for the arrest of the police officer. Later, the police arrived at the scene and took care of things. Chief Ro and Jong Gun then left feeling relieved. They wanted to go to the old man's son's house in the countryside to find Chairman Kim's son. That evening, the two went to the house and unexpectedly met Lawyer Han there. They both wondered how she knew the way and found Lawyer Han. There was time to explain that they wanted to find Chairman Kim's son. The three of them went inside to search. Lawyer Han also admitted that she overheard Donggun's conversation with old son. Later, the three of them discovered a locked warehouse. Donggun used an iron bar to break the door open and found a hatch. Donggun pried open the hatch and inside was Chairman Kim's son. Everyone rushed the boy to the hospital. After arriving, the head of the department called Sojin to inform him that Chairman Kim's son was safe. Also told him that Chairman Kim was lucky to survive, but Sun couldn't make it. However, she still wondered where Sun had hidden the money intended for Chairman Kim's son. The head of the department speculated that Sun had probably hidden it somewhere to give to his daughter later. He asked Sun to investigate Sun's account and those of his close associates to see if there were any clues about the money. After giving the instructions, the head of the department went back to the hospital room to check on Chairman Kim's son. He saw Rangan deep in thought. Then suddenly he stood up and left. After that, Zongan ran alone to the house and found the police officer threatening Sun's daughter. He cautiously approached with his gun, but the police officer discovered him. He took the girl hostage and forced Zongan to leave alive. Through the police officer's words, Zongan learned that the plan to kidnap Chairman Kim's son was devised by him and Sun with the aim of demanding a huge ransom. But after getting the money, Sun took it all and ran away, which led to the events that just happened. He became angry and fired his gun. He ran out of bullets, but his gun was out of ammunition. Jonggun immediately rushed to subdue the policeman. Jonggun was knocked to the ground and received several kicks to the stomach. Seeing the policeman about to approach the old man's son's daughter who was hiding, Jonggun pulled his leg back and urged the girl to quickly run outside. Unfortunately, the policeman grabbed the gun and shot Jonggun in the head, causing him to bleed. Seeing Jonggun still trying to resist, the policeman intended to finish him off but was immediately shot and fell to the ground. Unexpectedly, the person who fired the shot was Captain Zhang, who personally shot his close subordinate. He then shirked all responsibility, but Jonggun wasn't naive or gullible. He knew Captain Zhang was deliberately concealing his crimes and refused to compromise with him. Jonggun went outside to find Sun's daughter. At that time, Sun's daughter told Jonggun where her father hid the money because Sun had instructed him that if anything happened to him, he should only trust Jonggun because he was a good police officer. After obtaining the information, Jonggun led Chief Ro back to Sun's house in the countryside. The two searched together and discovered Donggun smashed the hollow wall and finally found the bag of money hidden inside. The two sat down to discuss what to do with the money. Chief Ro suggested Donggun ask Lawyer Han. Perhaps old Sun had told her how to handle the money. The next day, Chief Ro went to the hospital to meet Chairman Kim to investigate the person behind the kidnapping, but he was afraid his son would continue to be in danger, so he decided to remain silent. Chairman Kim wanted to take care of old Sun's daughter as a thank you because in the end, he still didn't harm his son. He also knew about the kidnapping. The Toad wasn't the mastermind, but someone was pulling the strings behind the scenes. Chairman D wanted to ask more questions, but Chairman Kim didn't want to say anything more. On the other side, Gonggun went to Captain Jiang's place and took a picture of him and his daughter as a warning. As a father, Captain Jiang should know how important other people's children are. Gonggun declared he would expose his crimes. From now on, he would work for the supervisory board. Captain Jiang then brought up the head of the supervisory board to remind Gonggun not to work for the supervisory board, but Gonggun didn't care. Only those, a police officer who protects justice like you is qualified to work at the supervisory board. At this time, the head of the board is being praised by the deputy minister for his achievements after the recent case. He proposed changing the name of the supervisory board to the anti-corruption team and introduced a consultant to the head of the board. However, when he learned that the consultant was Lawyer Han, he extended his hand to ask for cooperation, making it very difficult for him to refuse, so he let her be his consultant. Afterwards, the two went together to the supervisory board's office. There, The head of the board asked about Lawyer Han's true purpose. She took off the ring on her finger. Han's hand reveals a mark. He says it was done by a police officer. Only the supervisory board can help Lawyer Han approach that person. Just then, Sojin brings Jongin to take up the job. 4 different people with the same ideals create a supervisory board specializing in catching evil police officers. Years ago, when Lawyer Han was a prosecutor, a stranger broke into her house, knocked her unconscious, and took her hostage to interrogate her about evidence in a case she was investigating. He used pliers to pinch her thumb, leaving a mark that still remains. Now, just as Lawyer Han's husband returns, the face immediately turned to hit the husband. Remembering this, Lawyer Han suddenly realized. It turned out that she was undergoing psychological treatment at a close friend's place, and the traumas of the past still kept coming back. After leaving the clinic, Lawyer Han received a phone call from a girl in a patient's gown in the hospital asking for her help, saying that she was about to have trouble. However, this wasn't the first time MS Lai had called Lawyer Han to inform her of this. She didn't believe it, but MS Lai insisted very confidently. Because this time, a prosecutor also appeared in the hospital. Lawyer Han had no choice but to have the bodyguard drive there. When she arrived, she tried to contact MS Lai again, but unexpectedly, MS Lai escaped from the bodyguards. Lawyer Han confronted her, making everyone afraid to act rashly. He then led MS Lai outside to talk. It turned out that she still didn't believe MS Lai was in danger and only came to ask about the prosecutor she mentioned. At that moment, the prosecutor appeared before them. He and Lawyer Han were old acquaintances from the prosecutor's office. Unexpectedly, the prosecutor was also MS Lai's brother-in-law. Through him, Lawyer Han learned that MS Lai was about to donate a kidney to save her husband. I am the prosecutor's brother, but it seems she is not willing. The prosecutor tries to cover it up, saying that his sister-in-law wants to give birth for his brother. Lawyer Han is not a child to be fooled. At that time, Lawyer Han questioned the case of the stranger breaking into his house 7 years ago. That case was also handled by the prosecutor. He concluded that the person was just a petty thief with 2 previous convictions, which Lawyer Han couldn't believe. No thief would break into the house, overpower both husband and wife, and then force Lawyer Han to hand over the evidence of the ongoing investigation. Without taking anything from the house, the prosecutor still insisted that the results of his investigation were completely in accordance with the procedures. Then Lawyer Han asked his close friend to inquire with acquaintances in the hospital to find out who advised MS Lai to donate a kidney. Just as Lawyer Han hung up, he accidentally saw the news that Captain Zhang's investigation team had just broken up an illegal organ trafficking ring. Taking advantage of the situation, the family donated, minimizing all related procedures and paperwork, and directly taking the person to undergo surgery. The sophisticated and organized scheme was eventually exposed by the investigation team, further increasing public trust in the police. The prosecutor, who was also in charge of the case, unexpectedly received a call from a close friend who had found the kidney donor for MS Lai. It was a broker named Kim Lian involved in the organ trafficking ring who had just been arrested, but it was unknown what relationship this person had with MS Lai's husband. The close friend told Lawyer Han that MS Lai's husband had received kidney donations twice, but neither attempt was successful. After Lawyer Han became suspicious that her husband, Sai, was also involved in the local currency trading ring, she immediately called the supervisory board to investigate the financial relationship between the 3 people, the prosecutor, Sai's husband, and the broker, Kim. At the same time, she asked Jonggun to go to the hospital to help rescue Sai and give a statement. Later, Jonggun arrived at the hospital. Lawyer Han sent a bodyguard to accompany him to Sai's hospital room. Seeing her preparing for surgery, Jonggun immediately pulled Sai out, but unfortunately, he encountered resistance from the security guards. Jonggun claims to be a police officer sent to arrest the suspect, but the bodyguards don't believe him. They demand an arrest warrant, causing chaos at the hospital so that Lawyer Han can have a chance to take Sai away from the bodyguards. Upon discovering Sai has disappeared, they immediately try to chase after him, but Jonggun orders Lawyer Han's bodyguards to block them. Later, everyone returns to the police station. Chief Ban Ro and Lawyer Han go to the deputy minister to request an investigation into the illegal organ trafficking case because this is the responsibility of the investigation department, not the supervisory department. Chief Ban Ro uses the excuse that there are police officers present and the prosecutor took bribes from the local currency trading group. The deputy minister had to agree to let the supervisory board participate. On the other side, Donggun interrogated Sai, but she refused to say anything. Donggun then interrogated her directly, threatening to imprison her for resisting arrest, and that she was currently undergoing non-custodial rehabilitation for cultivating opium poppies in her house. However, Donggun's threat did not scare Tsai because she was being protected by Lawyer Han. At this moment, Lawyer Han and Head of Department J returned and saw Donggun being aggressive toward Tsai. She had no choice but to go into the interrogation room. Lawyer Han went to the clinic, ready to tell everything. It turned out she was the one who proactively contacted the drug traffickers to sell a kidney to buy an iPhone 15 in Korea. Marriage and divorce were very easy, and moreover, the prosecutor had a friend who helped see Lai. The procedures were quickly completed, and she became the wife of his brother. Taking advantage of being a relative of a patient, Si Lai was exempted from all complicated examination procedures and directly donated a kidney to her husband, or in other words, sold a kidney. But she only found out later. This trafficking ring is unsafe. The broker, Kim, is extremely dangerous. He often deceives patients by saying he'll take them abroad for surgery, then robs them of their money and steals their money. Si Lai decided not to do business with those people anymore. After hearing this, Lawyer Han advised Si Lai to testify to help the police arrest this ring. After some persuasion, Si Lai agreed to end the closed-door interrogation. Si Lai's testimony alone is not enough to solve the case and bring those behind it to justice. The police were also present. The prosecutor's involvement in Captain Zhang's raid on the drug trafficking ring was also a setup to deceive superiors and the public. Everyone agreed with this view. Lawyer Han guessed that new evidence would soon appear. Just as she finished speaking, she received a call from the prosecutor via CCTV in the parking garage. The prosecutor discovered that Lawyer Han was the one who took MS Lai away. He demanded her release, but she pretended not to know anything and hung up. Lawyer Han wanted to make the prosecutor impatient before calling back, waiting for him to carelessly reveal a clue. At this point, everyone had only one worry. That's how to protect Si Lai. Lawyer Han led her to the car so his bodyguard could take her to a safe place, but Zhong Gun was uneasy. Without the bodyguard, he feared Lawyer Han would be in danger. Donggun decided to take her home. When he arrived, Lawyer Han invited him inside. She went in first to make tea for Donggun. Unexpectedly, he received a call from the head of the department, Mr. Cha, from an unusual number. He called Si Lai and, after relocating her, discovered that the number was near Lawyer Han's house. Donggun immediately realized something was wrong. He told the head of the department to come to him quickly and then ran to the lawyer's place. Lawyer Ha checked and found a man wearing glasses restraining her, along with a man standing in the corner of the room. The man wearing glasses identified himself as a broker named Kim. He used Lawyer Han to threaten and force Zhong Gun to reveal Si Lai's location. He demanded that the man wearing glasses bring the money first, and then he would hand Si Lai over to them. The man wearing glasses, enraged, lunged and stabbed Zhong Gun. Lawyer Han quickly took out a taser from his pocket and threatened the man wearing glasses, forcing him to release Si Lai and leave immediately. If he wanted to see MS Lai, he had to do as Zhong Gun said and bring the money. The man wearing glasses agreed and left his phone to contact someone. Lawyer Han and the other guy left. Luckily, Zhong Gun had prepared a cup to put under his shirt, so he only suffered minor injuries. Later, Chief Ro and Sun went to Lawyer Han to have them take Zhong Gun to the hospital. They would go find the mastermind behind the incident. Zhong Gun was taken away, but he didn't want to go to the hospital. He wanted to go home. The chief complied with his request and went to Zhong Gun's house for a while. There, he recalled the time of the crime 15 years ago, right in this house. The chief discovered Zhong Gun's mother had been murdered. Luckily, he found Zhong Gun alive, hiding in the bathroom. Zhong Gun was grateful to Chief Rose for saving him that day. However, Chief Rose was still haunted by the fact that the suspect in the case was Zhong Gun's father, who was also his close colleague. On the other hand, Lawyer Han went to see the prosecutor because she knew he had sent the man with glasses to her house. The prosecutor still demanded that Lawyer Han hand over Zolai, but she still maintained her original demand. If she gave the money, she would see the culprit. The prosecutor knew Lawyer Han's true purpose wasn't money. She wanted to know who murdered her husband. At her house last year, the prosecutor still brazenly said that the case was an accident. Lawyer Han had nothing more to negotiate. She wrote the amount on the table and left. After that, Lawyer Han went to Zhong Gun's house to ask Chief R about his health. He told Lawyer Han to go check on him herself, but she knew Zhong Gun was fine. Lawyer Han wanted to discuss something else with Chief R, so he let her go into the car to talk. Zhong Gun accidentally overheard them. He suspected these two were hiding something from him, and his expression turned sour. The next day, the head of department came to ask the deputy minister to request a collaboration between the supervisory department and the investigation department in this organ trafficking case because it involved people from the prosecutor's office. The head of department could not bear the responsibility alone. Seeing that a tough person like the head of department was willing to compromise, especially with someone he was investigating, the deputy minister was extremely happy. Then the deputy minister invited Captain Zhang to talk about the cooperation proposal. After he shook hands with the head of Department D, Captain Zhang left the deputy minister's room and asked the deputy minister about the purpose. "What is the head of Section D?" He pretended not to know, saying it was simply a case of police officers cooperating in an investigation. But how could a cunning old fox like Captain Zhang believe him? He ignored Section Head Row and left. At this moment, Zhonggen received orders from Section Head Row to go to the place where the currency traders were. Following him was the section head's car and Captain Zhang. Upon arrival, Zhonggen directly stormed into the room of the man wearing glasses and told him to call the prosecutor to confirm whether he had brought the money to Lawyer Han to exchange for the girl. On the other side, the prosecutor went to Lawyer Han's house with the money that she had previously requested to exchange for Sai, but unexpectedly, the phone that the man with glasses had left the day before rang. He wanted to confirm whether Lawyer Han had received the money. She told the prosecutor to directly answer his teammate, but the prosecutor asked Ms. Lai. Unexpectedly, Ms. Lai revealed the entire plan. Lawyer Han wanted to eavesdrop on the prosecutor's phone call with the man with glasses to use it as evidence to arrest the prosecutor. Prosecutor Sojin and his bodyguard were also lying in ambush outside. However, Ms. Lai ruined the whole plan. She originally is a shameless person willing to sell his conscience for money, betraying the kindness of Lawyer Han, leaving her speechless. The prosecutor smashed the phone, then stood up and called someone to arrest the man with glasses. The police knew about the exchange between them and couldn't let the man with glasses fall into their hands. After hanging up, the prosecutor said that Lawyer Han was ruining his plans. Actually, this wasn't just a normal organ trafficking case. It was also related to an international organization. He requested cooperation with the police to find the mastermind. The head of the organization aimed to gain merit and advance his career. But no matter how the prosecutor explained, Lawyer Han couldn't believe him immediately. The prosecutor led Si Lai outside first, reprimanding her for reporting to the police midway, ruining the lawyer's carefully constructed plan. Si Lai wasn't very remorseful because her goal was money, but she also needed to live to spend the money. Following the prosecutor's plan was too dangerous. If he didn't arrive in time and she had her kidneys removed, it would be disastrous. The prosecutor was speechless with Si Lai. At this moment, a convoy of vehicles arrived at the location of the man wearing the mask. The men in black, without saying a word, wanted to rush in and grab the person, but were stopped by the thugs here. The two sides clashed fiercely in the room. Seeing the commotion, Gongan wanted to catch the man with glasses, but the assailants stabbed him with a knife, giving the man with glasses a chance to escape. Gongan managed to pull out the knife and knock the assailant down. He picked up his gun. Luckily, he had a shield he had prepared, otherwise he would have been injured. Suddenly, two men in black entered. Gongan said they were police officers coming to arrest a criminal and handed the assailant over to the two men to handle. Wanting to chase after the man with glasses, the chief of the police department could no longer sit still. He immediately ordered the police to stop the brawl. Captain Jiang led his men in to clear a path for the chief of the police department to run inside. He discovered the man with glasses escaping and quickly chased after him. Donggen also ran right behind. To an alley, the chief of the police department saw the man with glasses trying to climb the wall. He pointed his gun and threatened him, forcing him to come down. Suddenly, the chief of the police department received a call from Donggen informing him that the men in black were prosecutors. If the chief, the prosecutors would immediately abduct the man with glasses. Jongan advised him to let the man with glasses go first and then arrest him later, giving the police a chance to investigate him. If the prosecutors arrested the man with glasses now, the organ trafficking case would surely be covered up and buried, and the ringleader would never be found. Hearing Jongan's reasonable advice, the chief prosecutor decided to release the man with glasses, leaving him confused, but he quickly escaped, inadvertently falling into Jongan's sight. He immediately followed the man with glasses. The man with glasses hid in the restroom and called the prosecutor. He knew the prosecutor had betrayed the deal, but he didn't expect the prosecutor to directly admit it. This infuriated the man with glasses, who threatened to tell the police everything. But the prosecutor wasn't afraid and challenged the man with glasses to go ahead. After saying that, the prosecutor hung up. The man with glasses wanted to make the prosecutor pay the price. He was about to call someone when he was suddenly attacked from behind, his neck slit by lightning. The man with glasses, hiding in the restroom next to him, struggled and then died. Outside, John Gunn was following the guy with glasses, but for some reason he went to the restroom for a long time. He called Zun for help, and coincidentally, Zun was nearby. Then Zun went into the restroom to check first and discovered that the guy with glasses was dead. He shook his head helplessly and was about to pick up the phone the guy with glasses had dropped when Zun suddenly hit him hard. The assailant snatched the phone back from the guy with glasses and pointed a gun at him, intending to kill him. Luckily, Zun rushed in just in time, and the assailant finally left. After that, Zun took the guy with glasses' body to the forensic room and called Lawyer Han. The forensic doctor concluded that the victim died from strangulation, and other wounds appeared after the victim's death. Lawyer Han found this method of murder too normal. She was about to leave when suddenly Gongan burst in, wanting to check the victim's belongings to find the phone of the man with glasses, but it had already been taken by the killer. Gongan told everyone that the killer was also a police officer because only police officers were allowed to use the gun he used. Hearing this, Lawyer Han became suspicious and wanted to examine the victim's other wounds. The man discovered that the bespectacled man's finger had been cut off in a manner similar to the method used by the stranger who broke into his house 7 years ago. Lawyer Han determined that this case and the intruder from years ago were related, but unexpectedly, they were both within the police force. On the other side, the deputy minister was being pressured by the prosecutor, who said that the police had ruined the prosecutor's office's major plan. The bespectacled man was killed, and the prosecutor lost a crucial clue about the international organ trafficking ring. The prosecutor demanded an explanation from the deputy minister. However, he knew his purpose was to force the police to get involved in the case. The deputy minister agreed to give the prosecutor a satisfactory answer. Then he called the head of the department to a private meeting and recounted how the prosecutor had just come and pressured the deputy minister to publicly close the case of illegal organ trafficking. Not wanting to embarrass the deputy minister, he complied. Later, the head of the department returned to the supervisory board and conveyed the deputy minister's words to everyone. Everyone was surprised that the head of the department had agreed to close the case so readily. But the head was also at a loss, firstly because there were no more useful clues, and secondly because he feared the prosecution would continue to pressure the deputy minister, so he had to temporarily stop investigating the organ trafficking case and switch to another case. At that time, Jongan spoke up, "Actually, it's not entirely out of clues. If we can find the phone of the man with glasses, we'll know who he called before he died, but the phone must have been taken away by the investigators." Lawyer Han took out the phone that the man with glasses had left at his house earlier. It contained the number of the man with glasses who called on the day the prosecutor arrived. Led the girl away. Just investigate this phone number to find out who the man with glasses had called. The head of the committee agreed to let everyone continue the investigation. However, they had to be extremely careful and keep it secret. Any mistake could cause the supervisory committee to disband. The next day, someone from the information department brought the call history. They traced it from the number of the man with glasses. The last call before the man with glasses called was to a number in the Philippines. The head of the committee tried calling, but unexpectedly, the person on the other end said they were a South Korean police officer. This caused everyone to panic. The head of the row team led Zone Gun to ask Captain Zhang for help in retrieving the evidence obtained from the hideout of the drug traffickers yesterday. Captain Zhang's subordinates were preparing to hand it over to the prosecutor's office, but the head of the row team snatched it from them. The prosecutor, seeing this, angrily left. In the car, Captain Zhang wondered what was in the evidence suitcase. He was about to open it when the head of the row team immediately changed his mind and got out of the car. But he reminded the head of the row team about an agreement between the two. After Captain Zhang got out of the car, Zongan asked the head of the row team, "What exactly is in the suitcase?" What did the two people agree on that made Captain Zhang help the head of the committee say this is not a trivial matter, so you should know that after bringing the suitcase of evidence back to the head of the committee's office, they opened it and saw inside a knife and a bloodstained shirt. Everyone took it for DNA testing from the national database. The supervisory board confirmed that this was the blood of C. Lai's husband's stepson. Through investigation, everyone discovered that this man is living and working in the Philippines. C. Lai's husband still sends monthly support money there, but if the son has died, then the money. Everyone suspects that it was poured into the prosecutor's pocket. Lawyer Han devised a plan to expose the prosecutor's true face. She called a friend in the Philippines to make fake documents for someone to become C. Lai's husband's son, so that person could return to the country as soon as possible. The next day, the prosecutor went to the hospital to visit C. Lai's husband, wishing him a successful surgery. C. Lai's husband happily announced that after the surgery, he could meet his son. The prosecutor saw the news that his son was about to return to the country. This made Prosecutor C and the letter. The husband's secretary's expression changed after C. Lai's husband was taken away for surgery by the doctors. C. Lai then questioned the prosecutor, asking if their plan would be ruined if her son returned. The prosecutor told her to rest assured and go ahead with the kidney transplant surgery. He would handle the rest later. Then, C. Lai's husband's secretary dragged the prosecutor out into the hallway. Unexpectedly, the secretary was also an accomplice of the prosecutor and C. Lai. All three wanted to conspire to seize C. Lai's husband's enormous fortune and fabricate a plan to make the upcoming surgery fail. Ms. Lai's kidney is incompatible with her husband's. If he and her son die, the only legal heir will be Ms. Lai. But now suddenly, her son is still alive. The prosecutor claims he secretly had someone deal with him abroad. The secretary doesn't believe it and wants to go to the airport to confirm a flight. She overhears the conversation between the two villains and returns to prepare a plan. At this time, the secretary is at the airport and sees Ms. Lai's husband's son. He calls back to report to the prosecutor, telling the secretary. The secret agents secretly handled the matter and then staged a robbery. After that, the masked secretary stole the hotel room keycard and broke into the room of her husband's son. C. Lai was waiting for him. This is Sojin. The angry secretary realized he had fallen into a trap. Sojin quickly fired a taser, shocking the secretary and sending him tumbling to the ground. Chifa came and gave handcuffs to Sojin so she could arrest the secretary and take him to the station. On the other side, Lawyer Han went to the prosecutor and exposed his entire plan. Lai agreed to sacrifice an incompatible kidney for her husband so that it would be easier to claim inheritance rights later. The legal assets received will be divided among those involved in the plan, but the prosecutor didn't expect Lawyer Han to be more cunning than him. It had always been like that. She admitted that the return of her husband's CS son to the country was orchestrated by her and the supervisory board to lure the prosecutor into a trap. The prosecutor initially didn't believe it, but when he heard Zun inform Lawyer Han that the secretary had been arrested, he began to panic. At that moment, Jonggun burst in with handcuffs intending to arrest the prosecutor. He angrily left, and Jonggun didn't stop him. Because according to the board's plan, the supervisor wanted the prosecutor to expose the person behind Donggun. He just needed to secretly follow him. The prosecutor ran straight to the rooftop and called the chief prosecutor to save him. Unexpectedly, the chief prosecutor was also involved in the plan. But when everything was exposed, the chief prosecutor washed his hands of it and directly hung up on the prosecutor. He angrily shouted, wanting to expose everything, but suddenly realized there was lightning. Fu was standing behind him. When Janggan followed him to the scene, he discovered the prosecutor had fallen from a high floor and broken his leg. He knew someone was playing a trick and wanted to find him, but lost track of another side. Ms. Lai woke up in the hospital room and discovered that her kidney hadn't been removed. She was overjoyed. However, someone was waiting for her outside. Lawyer Han came to inform Ms. Lai that from now on she would have to go to prison for fraud and misappropriation of property. Ms. Lai panicked and begged Lawyer Han to bail her out, but their cooperation had ended after the previous betrayal. Ms. Lai was then dragged away by the police. Another case was handled by the supervisory board. The director and deputy director called the head of the R department to congratulate the director and the target. He gave money to the head of the supervisory board to treat the board to a meal, but the head of the supervisory board's purpose was not that simple. He directly proposed to the police chief that he wanted to investigate the internal workings of the police department. The police chief sighed and accepted. After leaving the room, the head of the supervisory board met Lawyer Han. She wanted to personally interrogate Lai's husband, but the head of the supervisory board handed him over to Captain Zhang to fulfill the initial agreement between the two. The lawyer immediately ran to Captain Zhang and asked him just one question. Where did human evolution begin? Captain Zhang didn't know what Lawyer Han wanted. He replied, there's human evolution since they developed emotions. This wasn't the answer Lawyer Han wanted. She let Captain Zhang go. On the other side, Jonggun was watching the video recording in the hospital hallway repeatedly but still couldn't identify the culprit. He went home to rest and received a letter from his father in prison. The next day, Jong-gun visited his father in prison. He still remembered the day his mother was murdered by his father. Jong-gun still harbored resentment towards his father. After 15 years, he met his father again, who didn't ask about his son but asked for help. Investigating a case in prison with the father, a thief with a metal rod had broken into the house of a third-generation tycoon with many charges of drug use and corruption. But he hasn't been caught yet. After the thief went to prison, the tycoon repeatedly had people beat him up. The father speculated that the thief had taken something from the tycoon's house. Perhaps it was a bribery blacklist, so he wanted Dong-gun to investigate it, hoping he might make a great contribution. Dong-gun didn't want to listen anymore, stood up and left. Afterwards, he returned to the supervisory board and recounted what his father had told him. Everyone, the head of the committee, also knows about the theft. However, according to the investigation, the thief didn't take anything from the tycoon's house. He was arrested for driving a car and hitting a police officer while fleeing. After the accident, the thief went directly to the police officer's funeral to apologize and then confessed. The head of the committee suspected that perhaps the thief was afraid of being struck by lightning and wanted to cover up the evidence, so he decided to let himself be caught and go to prison. Anyway, prison is a little safer. The supervisory committee decided to reinvestigate the theft and what the thief took from the tycoon's house. Then, Jong-gun and the head of the committee visited the prison to meet the thief, but the prison guard announced that he had just had a work accident. The two wanted to go inside to check the scene. Dong-gun, under the guise of police, chased all the prisoners away to investigate. He found a frame thrown in a water tank. This was definitely a lightning strike, probably hired by the tycoon. The two took the scissors back to the supervisory office for inspection. At that time, the head of the supervisory office, Dong-gun, contacted the tycoon's manager, saying that Dong-gun's father, who was in the locker, had found out the location of the black fund ledger from a thief and wanted to negotiate with the tycoon through Jong-gun. The manager, upon hearing this, quickly agreed that Jong-gun would decide the meeting place. The next day, X-Run disguised herself as a lawyer and borrowed Han's law office as the meeting place. She prepared a few things, including a listening device. If the tycoon admitted to bribery and masterminding the attack on the thief in Sojin's cabinet, she could catch him immediately. Later, the manager led the tycoon to the office and went straight to the point, taking out a large sum of money as a deposit in exchange for the position of the black fund ledger. At the same time, he promised to take care of Jong-gun's father in the cupboard. These words were enough evidence to accuse the tycoon Jong-gun of bribery. He signaled to Sun to prepare for a surprise arrest. Chief D called to inform Jong-gun's father that he knew the thief's wife was missing. He suspected it was caused by the tycoon. Chief D told Jong-gun to temporarily not arrest anyone, otherwise a life would be in danger. Jong-gun signaled to Sun to stop. Just then, Lawyer Han burst in. She and the manager knew each other. It turned out he was also a police investigator in the case of the father of Jong-gun, now quitting his job as a manager for the Tycoon Corporation. Lawyer Han directly took out the listening device from under the table and secretly gave it to the manager, signaling him to immediately hide it in his shirt. The tycoon looked at the two of them in confusion. The manager excused himself and went outside. The tycoon asked him, "What did Lawyer Han give you?" The manager lied, saying it was candy, and led the tycoon away. To the lobby, they accidentally ran into the head of the department. The head of the department called the manager over to talk. He sent the tycoon away and followed the head of the department out. Outside, the head of the department asks the manager, "Did he kidnap the thief's wife?" The manager pretends to be innocent. On the other side, Jong-gun also goes to the tycoon and asks the same question, causing a commotion that angers the tycoon, who then beats Jong-gun. Jong-gun has reason to arrest him for assaulting a police officer. The evidence is clearly recorded. At this time, Jong-gun and S-Run go to the thief's house to investigate and search for his missing wife. Lawyer Han's bodyguard also follows to assist. They find a type of medicine in the house along with the thief's wife's medication schedule. But it seems she abandoned it. This medicine has been around for a while. To clarify what kind of medicine it is, the three of them went to a nearby pharmacy. They found out it was a new type of breast cancer medication costing over 4 million VND per course. Stopping the treatment midway would render it ineffective. Something must have happened to the thief's wife for her to stop taking the medicine like that. Zone-gun and Sojin decided to go back and inform Chief Ro. The bodyguards also called Lawyer Han. At this time, Chief Ro was interrogating the tycoon. He took out a picture and asked him, "Where did you hide the thief's wife?" The tycoon remained silent. However, the head of the gang knew he was a spoiled son, so he was very cowardly. He grabbed the tycoon by the neck and threatened him, forcing him to reveal the location of the thief's wife. The tycoon turned pale with fear. Just then, he opened the door and called the head of the gang. Only then did the head of the gang let him go, but still warned the tycoon that if he didn't reconsider, he would surely be beaten up again. He went outside and took out the thief's wife's cancer medication and revealed everyone's earlier suspicions. Moreover, this is also an expensive type of medicine that someone who owes money like the thief's wife couldn't afford. The head of the gang guessed she was. The conglomerate provided support but still needed further investigation. That evening, Lawyer Han went to meet the father of the conglomerate, who is also the chairman of one of the largest conglomerates in South Korea. She wanted to make a deal with the chairman. Lawyer Han informed him that the supervisory board was investigating 2 cases related to the conglomerate. One was the Black Fund Ledger case, and the other was the disappearance of the thief's wife. If they could solve one of the 2 cases, the other would automatically be resolved. The chairman admitted that he had given the thief's wife 500 million won, and after receiving it, she immediately disappeared. He, not hiding anything from Lawyer Han, just to gain trust during the exchange of agreements, Lawyer Han also revealed her purpose: to meet someone, then she would negotiate with Jong-gun's father in prison to ask for the location of the black book that the thief was hiding. Jong-gun's father only needed money and his son's safety, and he would definitely do the job. On the other side, Chief Ro and Jong-gun went to prison to meet the thief, promising to help him find his missing wife, just in case the thief assisted in the investigation. Hearing that his wife was in danger, the thief accepted this request, and then the 2 of them found a way to get the thief to cooperate. Going outside, encountering resistance from the prison guard, Jong-gun said the thief had just vomited blood and needed to go to the hospital urgently. But the prison guards still didn't believe him. Suddenly, a nearby janitor grabbed a toothbrush and repeatedly stabbed the thief in the stomach. Jong-gun quickly rushed to catch him. Now the prison guards had to call an ambulance to take the thief away. Unexpectedly, the janitor was sent by Lawyer Han. After the matter was settled, she reported back to the chairman and revealed the name of the person she wanted to meet, which was Captain Jiang of the investigation team. Unexpectedly, Lawyer Han was in love. Chairman Bao asked Captain Jiang to personally go and kill her. The chairman smiled. He thought Lawyer Han was trying to trick him, but she insisted on doing it that way. The chairman agreed to pay Lawyer Han more money. He wouldn't touch the police if anything could be solved with money. As for Lawyer Han's conditions, they couldn't be fulfilled. At this moment, the tycoon and his manager returned. He was bailed out by the manager. Seeing that the chairman's son didn't want to talk to Lawyer Han anymore, he said they would discuss the conditions later. He directly dismissed him. Lawyer Han left, and she had no reason to stay. The manager received orders to follow Lawyer Han to the hospital to see if the thief was dead. Then he left him alone to go to the thief's hospital room. It turned out that the whole stabbing of the thief was a plan of the 2 of them. The blood and body armor were all prepared by Jong-gun and given to the thief to act out a scene where he was completely unharmed. Seeing this, the manager realized he had been tricked, but he couldn't leave anymore. Chief R and Jong-gun were lying in ambush in the hospital room, handcuffing the manager for assaulting the thief. Chief R he produced a knife with the manager's fingerprints on it as evidence. He didn't expect the chief to be able to create false evidence. He let Jong-gun lead the thief away first while he himself wanted to negotiate with the manager. After seeing Jong-gun safely put the thief in the car, the chief asked the manager where he hid the thief's wife, but the manager still answered that he didn't know, just like before. The chief then handed him over to the police. Unexpectedly, Zun ran to report that she found a camera recording in the cell and discovered that the person who stabbed the thief was Jong-gun's father. The head of the group realized that everything they had done so far was part of Jong-gun's father's plan. He immediately called Jong-gun, but he didn't answer, so he worried and told Zun to go find him. Jong-gun drove the thief a short distance, but unexpectedly, the thief held a knife to his neck. He wondered who gave the thief the knife, but the thief said it was Jong-gun's father. The thief forced Jong-gun to do as he was told, driving to the riverbank. He didn't want to harm Jong-gun, so he made him handcuff himself to the steering wheel. Then the thief threw the keys and phone outside. Then he fled, driving away in the car that had been prepared. Inside the car, Jong-gun tried to grab the gun. He intended to shoot through the handcuffs but was afraid the bullet would hit him or damage the car, so he didn't dare shoot. Luckily, Jong-gun saw a cyclist on the bridge. He fired the gun, signaled, and called the other person for help. On the other side, The head of the gang went to prison to meet Zongin's father and asked what his real purpose was. Zongin's father admitted that he stabbed the thief because he wanted him to escape and save his wife. Both were widowers. Zongin's father asked for sympathy for the thief, his second purpose. His father's purpose was to make Gongin let the criminal escape and lose his job. The things he did in the supervisory board were too dangerous. The father didn't want his son to be like him 15 years ago. After hearing his father's purpose, Donggan, the head of the supervisory board, understood him. At this time, Zun received a report and rushed to Gongin's place to help him unlock the handcuffs. The two of them set off to the thief's house to see if he had returned. After searching the house, Gongin discovered something unusual under the carpet. Zun took out his forensic equipment to check. Unexpectedly, before entering the supervisory board, she still used to work in the forensic department, but because she lost evidence in an important case, she was transferred to a place no police officer wanted to work. A while later, X ran. Ready, she put on her reflective glasses for Gonggan. Unexpectedly, there was a bloodstain on the floor dragged all the way to the door. The thief's wife was left behind and took the body away in this very house. That evening, Lawyer Han came to find the tycoon, using the black notebook to tempt him. If he just brought it back, he would earn merit with the chairman. She informed the tycoon that the thief had just escaped. If he just asked for help, the police caught the thief and were able to get the black book. The tycoon still pretended not to associate with the police, but when Lawyer Han mentioned the death of the thief's wife, he immediately changed his attitude. The tycoon confessed that the manager was the one who assaulted the thief's wife and disposed of her body. The tycoon only wanted the black book and didn't intend to kill anyone. Lawyer Han then suggested that he call the police to the scene to cover up the evidence. At this point, the tycoon confessed that the chairman was actually the one who had a relationship with him. The police often asked the police to solve the troubles caused by his son. Lawyer Han asked the tycoon if he remembered the police officer's face, and he still had some impression. At this moment, the chief of the department opened the door and came in. The tycoon recognized him as the person who had appeared in his father's office. This made Lawyer Han confused. Could the chief of the department be the same person who had been the thief's wife 7 years ago? He came here again wanting to negotiate with the tycoon to find out the whereabouts of the thief's wife, but Lawyer Han said that she had been killed. The chief of the department didn't believe it. He was called again to confirm that the police had just checked the bloodstains at the thief's house. It was indeed the blood of his wife, Sojin. He suspected the thief would seek revenge on the tycoon. She told Chief Rowe that he escaped in a car with license plate 3281. Chief Rowe remembered that this car had just parked outside the door. He quickly ran out to check the room, but the power suddenly went out. The thief appeared, threatened Lawyer Han with a gun, and then led the tycoon away. The bodyguards outside tried to stop him, but the thief pointed a gun at them as a warning. Chief Rowe rushed over, but it was too late. The thief had already taken the tycoon away. After Chief Rowe was summoned by the police chief for reprimanding him for letting the thief escape and kidnapping the tycoon, the police chief demanded that Jong-gun be dismissed from the team because he suspected that Jong-gun and his father in prison conspired to commit this crime. The case would continue to be handled by Chief Rowe. He promised to do his best. Chief Rowe returned but had no intention of announcing Jong-gun's dismissal. However, he also knew that the police chief had just put pressure on him, so he voluntarily asked to withdraw. Jong-gun wanted to go home and rest for a while. He said goodbye to Chief Rowe and left. At home, Lawyer Han was waiting for Dong-gun, but he was disappointed and didn't want to talk to her. Lawyer Han went inside the house and told Dong-gun his real purpose: to find out who broke into his house 7 years ago, a police officer who often accepted money to cover up cases for wealthy people. Lawyer Han suspected that this man was the real killer of Dong-gun's mother and framed his father. Because 7 years ago, when Lawyer Han was attacked, he was also investigating the case of Dong-gun's mother's murder. Dong-gun wondered if Lawyer Han had found out who that person was yet. At first, she suspected Captain Jiang, but after the tycoon revealed that Chief Rowe went to meet the chairman, Lawyer Han, she began to reconsider. 15 years ago, the first person to come to Jong-gun's house was Chief Rowe, who was also in charge of investigating the case. Perhaps he was the one who covered up the evidence and framed Jong-gun's father. Lawyer Han wanted to investigate the truth of what happened 15 years ago with Jong-gun, and she also wanted to find the police officer who broke into the house and searched her husband. Then, Lawyer Han led Jong-gun back to the supervisory board to continue participating in the investigation. The case chief showed no attitude. Whether there was a long line or not, he could handle it. Adding Lawyer Han only made things more complicated. Chief D went into the interrogation room to question the manager. He absolutely refused to open his mouth because he believed the chairman would send someone to rescue him. Chief D chuckled. The chairman had actually sent people to the door, but not to pick up the manager, but to abduct him. They would bring the manager back to the chairman, who would use all methods of assault, threats, and coercion to force the manager to write a confession on behalf of the tycoon. Then the chairman will send his subordinates to stage a self-investigation for the manager. Taking death as atonement for what he has done, the words of the head of the committee began to shake the manager's resolve. Unexpectedly, the chairman sent someone to pick up the manager and rushed in. The head of the committee almost managed to persuade him to let him go. However, as soon as he left the door, everything the head of the committee said immediately came true. At that moment, the manager became afraid. He begged the head of the committee, "Save me." The henchmen tried to stop the manager, but they didn't dare in front of the police station. The impulsive manager followed the head of department inside. Later, the head of department D led the manager away. The driver chased after them but lost track. Luckily, Lawyer Han had a GPS tracker on the head of department's car. At this time, the head of department led the manager to a tunnel and forced him out of the car. He wanted to know the location. The manager had buried the thief's wife. He was afraid that after knowing, the head of department would kill him, so he wanted to be released early. Unexpectedly, the manager also had a mark on his thumb exactly like Lawyer Han's, caused by an internal police investigator. He suspecting that the chief inspector was the one who had been killed, the chief inspector agreed to let the manager go first, but after he had only taken a few steps, the chief inspector pulled out his gun and shot the manager. Startled, the manager turned around and saw the chief inspector's face change to one of menace, pointing the gun straight at him. He took out his phone and called the manager one last time, asking him where the thief's wife was buried. The manager didn't dare to delay any longer and told the chief inspector that he had buried her in the ecological park. After hearing this, the chief inspector let him go. Just as Dongan's group arrived, the leader of the group invited everyone to go look for the thief's wife's body. On the other side, the thief led the tycoon to an ecological park to find his wife's body. This place has now become a public land. The thief made the tycoon dig until he found his wife's body. After a while of digging, the tycoon found the body. He vomited and ran up, but the thief was not afraid at all. He ran to hug his wife's body and cried. The tycoon took the opportunity to hit the thief with a gun and then fled. The thief let go of his wife, grabbed a gun, and chased after the tycoon. He fired several shots in quick succession but missed, inadvertently revealing his position to the team leader. He found the thief's car but there was no one inside, and also discovered the thief's wife's body. The team leader urged Jongan to go search for the other two, telling Xrun to stay behind and call for backup. After searching around, Jongan was suddenly tackled by a wealthy man who recognized him as a police officer. He begged Jongan to save his life and promised him a lot of money. Jongan asked him if he confessed to raping the thief's wife, but in the end, the scoundrel still refused to confess. At this moment, the thief, Dongan, appears, still having to rush out to protect the tycoon. He advises the other party to reconsider, but now in his heart, he only wants revenge for his wife. Dongan urges the tycoon to confess and apologize repeatedly until the thief points a gun at him. Only then does the tycoon admit it. Dongan promises the thief he will put him in jail for 10 crimes. The thief is about to give up when the tycoon smiles again. Damn it, the thief picks up the gun again. Dongan uses the thief's wife to continue persuading him, making him hesitate. Suddenly, someone fires a shot. The thief's heart was pierced, killing him instantly before he could even react. Just then, Chief Dongan came over with a gun. Dongan thought it was the chief who did it. The chief, without any expression, immediately asked about the black notebook. Dongan remembered what Lawyer Han had said at home, and became even more suspicious that the chief was a police officer working for the tycoons. Dongan said that before dying, the tycoon hadn't mentioned anything about the black notebook. Chief Dongan could only helplessly let it go. Later, the police arrived, took over the scene, and took the tycoon to the station to be tried for the crime. Also ends here. In the evening, Sojin dug at the scene with the police to find more evidence to arrest the tycoon. Unexpectedly, she discovered something strange. There were many other bodies here. Sojin called back to report to the head of Department R, suspecting a serial murder case was being covered up. The next day, the supervisory team went to the forensic room. The police found 6 bodies, all male. The head of department took a piece of paper from the mouth of the nearest victim and gave it to Jongin to find out what it was. After that, everyone gathered together. After confirming the identities of the victims, only Lawyer Han remained. She accidentally discovered that one of the victims also had her thumb cut off. Lawyer Han suspected the case was committed by the lightning killer from 7 years ago. At this point, Donggen discovered the identity of the most recent victim, a criminal with 4 prior convictions for gambling and money laundering named Bark. Su Noon disappeared at the end of last year. Before disappearing, the victim visited someone in prison. Donggen decided to meet that person to see what the victim said before dying. Unexpectedly, the person Bark chose to meet was Donggen's father. However, when he asked the father, Donggen pretended not to know anything. He wanted to know his father's real purpose in dragging him into the previous burglary case, which led to the discovery of the victim's burial place in the serial murder case. His father directly stated that he wanted to exchange the black ledger of the conglomerate for his freedom. Donggen told this to the head of the criminal organization, which surprised him greatly. Meanwhile, Jun and Lawyer Han went to the forensic department. Through the doctor's words, they learned that only one of the 6 victims had an unsevered thumb. More importantly, the method of committing the crime was different from all the others. The victims were all stripped naked and wrapped in plastic bags, but this one was not. It is speculated that this could be the first victim of the serial murder. Later, the killer's methods evolved and became more careful, resulting in a perfect, unblemished body. This serial killer is also strange. He has excellent self-control. Usually, serial murders are committed for pleasure and increase in frequency as the killer seeks excitement and thrill, but this killer disposed of the victims in a cyclical manner, suspecting that the murderer did not kill for pleasure but had other motives. At this time, the police chief held a press conference to announce the serial murder case, instructing Captain Jiang's investigation team to take over. The supervisory board, although they discovered the bodies, was not responsible for investigating this case. The deputy minister reminded Donggen to relay the message to the head of the supervisory board. Later, Donggen relayed the deputy minister's message to everyone. There was nothing more to do. Lawyer Han said goodbye and left, but the head of the supervisory board knew she wouldn't let it go easily, and the supervisory board didn't want to either. Giving up on the case, he found out. Lawyer Ha protected the investigating officer about the victim's nearest relatives. The next day, Zhang discovered the deputy minister letting the criminal tycoon out while he went to the restroom. Gonggen followed and subdued him. He wanted to ask the tycoon why the manager instigated him to dump the thief's wife's body in the ecological park. The tycoon admitted that the manager had said the park wouldn't be investigated by the police because even the police were doing bad things there. After hearing this, Gonggen immediately ran to the place. The vice minister insisted on investigating the serial murder case. In return, he would pretend not to know anything about the tycoon's release and would help the vice minister find the black notebook. Donggen saw that the vice minister was very interested in the notebook. After persuading the vice minister, he agreed to let the supervisory board continue investigating the serial murder case, but it had to be done quickly and discreetly before the chief found out. Just present the results and she won't be able to say anything. After leaving the room, Vice Minister Donggen received a call from Sojin. She confirmed the identity. The bodies were all those with prior convictions and were wanted by the police. Donggen immediately wanted to bring the files to Chief Ro, but he knew that the chief was in the interrogation room of the investigation department. Donggen immediately called the police chief to the investigation department to show her the results he had just found. He wanted to bring the serial murder case to the supervisory board. Another side, the Chief Ro, was arrested for questioning because he was the one who released the manager. Now he has become a suspect because he knows the burial place of the bodies in the serial murder case. However, Chief Ro affirmed that the manager, Lee, is not the culprit. He also has a thumb that was cut off, similar to the victims. Captain Jiang doesn't care about these deductions. He only wants the head of the investigation to cooperate. Suddenly, the two heard a fight outside. Donggen brought the victims' identities and caused a disturbance, demanding that the investigation team release the head of the investigation team. Captain Jiang went to get the results and brought them back to the interrogation room for the head of the investigation team to see. Immediately afterwards, the head of the investigation team also arrived. Knowing that the supervisory team was the one who confirmed the victims' identities, she wanted someone from the team. "Follow me, everyone. Let's go back to the supervisory board's office." The deputy minister was also called. Donggen revealed his speculations about the serial murder case. Through investigation, he learned that the cases occurred about 15 years ago, right around the time Jong-gun's father went to prison. He was a former police officer. The suspect is the manager, also a former police officer. The victims were all wanted criminals. The most recent victim, Park Chosun, even met with Jong-gun's father before he disappeared. Perhaps the father knew something about the case. The chief spoke up. Jong-gun said, "That means he, suspecting someone within the police force, is the perpetrator of the serial murders of Jong-gun and the head of the R department both agree." This infuriates the deputy minister. He forgets his promise to Jang-gun from earlier and doesn't want the supervisory board to continue the investigation, but the chief disagrees. She lets the supervisory board handle the serial murder case because their job is to catch police officers who commit crimes. The next day, Park Chosun's sister is invited to cooperate in the investigation. She becomes the director of her brother's gang company after Park Chosun disappears. This makes Rang Gun suspects his sister, Park Chosun, explains. Because no one dared to take on that position and the company couldn't stop operating, she had to take over. Dong-gun also has information that his sister was the one who informed Captain Jang about Park Chosun's son preparing to flee abroad. She admitted that her brother suggested doing it so that the gang company could operate peacefully. Jong-gun is still suspicious. He believes his sister killed Park Chosun, but she couldn't have done it alone. Jong-gun shows several police photos. He put it on the table and asked her who was helping to kill Park. The younger sister picked up a photo of the manager and pointed out that this was the person who regularly came to the company before her brother disappeared. But Jong-gun knew she was being directed by someone to frame the manager. Unexpectedly, Lawyer Han came in. She was hired as the defense lawyer for Park's sister. However, Lawyer Han pretended not to know Jong-gun and insisted on taking her client to the supervisory board, so they had to release her. In the afternoon, Jong-gun participated in the Amnesty Council as a family member, also a victim to decide whether to forgive his father before the council. Dong-gun admitted to killing his wife and felt extremely remorseful for the past 15 years. He begged for forgiveness from the council and his son, then was taken outside to wait for the council's decision. Dong-gun asked if he would accept his father's pardon. Dong-gun agreed. Because this was originally an exchange between him and the deputy minister so that the supervisory board could continue investigating the serial murder case. In the evening, Park Chosun's younger sister was driving home when she was suddenly attacked by a masked man, stuffed it into the car trunk. However, after a while, there was no movement, so she dared to come out. The girl, Park Chosun's son, quickly called Lawyer Han and recounted the whole story. In fact, this was Lawyer Han's plan. The masked man was a bodyguard, aiming to intimidate her into revealing the truth. Then, she took Park Chosun's son to a psychological clinic so her close friend could help her. With the added threat, Park Chosun's son decided to tell Lawyer Han everything she knew that night. After her brother's case occurred, she received a call from a number belonging to Park, but on the other end was the voice of a strange man who asked her sister where human evolution began. He also said that Park had evolved to the point of losing all humanity and becoming a criminal, so she had to be punished. The sister, afraid that the killer was targeting her, begged Lawyer Han for help, but she was also distraught after hearing her sister's story. Park was still the same killer from 7 years ago. The next day, Lawyer Han came to Lawyer Han's house. Lead sister Park Chosun's son to the supervisory board. This time she also accepts to tell the whole truth. The sister takes out her phone to show everyone the messages between herself and the mysterious lightning man. Initially, she was also confused when she replaced her brother in the position of director of the company. But thanks to the mysterious lightning man's guidance, Sister Park Chosun completely controlled everything and led the company to grow stronger. Jong-gun wanted to ask for the lightning man's phone number, but the sister told him that every time he called, it was a different number. The head of the board suggested to her, next time if the killer calls, contact him. After his sister Park Chosun left, the supervisory board continued its secret meeting. Dong-gun successively investigated other victims. They all held positions in gang companies. After the final decision, relatives or trusted associates took power, and as Park Chosun's sister said, they were all controlled by the same person. However, no one could guess the killer's true purpose in manipulating these gang companies. At this time, Jong-gun's father was pardoned, and the deputy minister was waiting outside the prison to ask about his position. Black Book. He gave Jong-gun's father a phone to check maps and make contact. Just then, Jong-gun and the head of department also arrived. The deputy minister saw the two of them and angrily asked what they were doing there. Jong-gun coming to pick up his father was normal. He gave him the new phone and told his father to return the phone to the deputy minister, then drove his father away. After dropping his father off at home, Jongin gave him some instructions and then returned to his office to work. Here, Zun identified the only victim whose finger was not cut off. It was a police officer who went missing in 2004. Jongin remembered something. He took a picture of an investigation team from his desk. Unexpectedly, the missing police officer was on the same team as Jonggin's father, Chief Ro, and Captain Jang. Jongin immediately went home to find his father to ask about it, but he had already left, making him extremely angry. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. It was the police officer Captain Jang sent to find Jonggin's father, but this time he returned empty-handed. Jongin closed the door and changed officers. When he went back inside, he accidentally saw signs of tampering in the ceiling. He tried climbing up to search and discovered a box. However, the box only contained an empty bag. Perhaps the contents had been taken by his father. Jongin was wondering what it was when suddenly he received a phone call. Unexpectedly, the manager dared to call. He even said he was outside Jonggin's house. Jongin immediately ran out to check and found the manager standing in the building opposite. He came here to find Jonggin's father, but his father wasn't home, so he told Jongin a truth. The manager and Jonggin's father had investigated a serial killer. He was a high-ranking police officer. The manager had lost his job. Jonggin's father went to prison. The missing police officer that the supervisory board just found was all caused by that one person. The manager said the purpose of meeting Jongin this time was to ask him to pass on a message to Lawyer Han to prepare some money for him to escape. After that, the manager would let everyone know who the police investigator was. The manager knew Lawyer Han really wanted to find that person, but if he directly said the name, both she and the manager would retaliate. Jongin wanted to keep the manager there to ask more questions, but he hung up and left, not forgetting to destroy the phone. On the other side, Jonggin's father came to see the deputy minister to discuss an important matter. He would hand over the black notebook to the deputy minister in exchange for Jonggin's father wanting to investigate the serial murder case to find the police officer who murdered his wife. The deputy minister was astonished to hear this because Jonggin's father, a prisoner under amnesty and still under house arrest, wanted to participate in the investigation. Jonggin's father replied that he only wanted to clear his name so that his son would no longer harbor resentment towards him. After saying this, Jonggin's father stood up and left, just as he met the police chief coming in and recognized his senior. He had instructed himself at the police academy. The police chief asked to take a picture with Jonggin's father, then took the opportunity to whisper to them that he wanted the black book of the conglomerate and would offer a higher price than the deputy minister. Jonggin's father didn't care about the police chief's words. After taking the picture, he asked permission to leave. That evening, Jonggin returned home and found his father sleeping on the ground. He kicked him a few times, and his father immediately jumped up and grabbed his son by the neck. Because in prison, he could be searched at any time, so Jonggin's father was always vigilant. Reached out to help Jonggin up, but he didn't need it. Then Jonggin asked his father where he'd been all day. His father said he had some personal matters to deal with. Jonggin wondered what his father was hiding in the ceiling. His father explained it was a wedding anniversary gift. He intended to give it to his wife. Every time his mother was mentioned, Jonggin resented his father. He refused to talk to his father any further, threw the blanket at him, and went outside. Meanwhile, Chief Ro came to see the taxi driver who had driven Jonggin's father outside. Today, he discovered that the taxi driver was a former cellmate of Jonggin's father. Chief Ro asked the driver if he recognized the thief in the photo. The taxi driver nodded in acknowledgement and recounted how, while in prison, the thief had given him a box and instructed him to send it to Jonggin's father when he had the chance. So today, knowing that his father had just been pardoned, the taxi driver waited at the door, just waiting for Jonggin's father to come out so he could pick him up. In the car, he took out the box and returned it to him. At that moment, the head of the department wondered what was in the box, but the taxi driver didn't know either. The next day, Jonggin woke up to find his father had prepared breakfast. Wanting to gradually soothe the hatred in his son's heart, Jonggin sensed the sincerity in his father's eyes, so the tension gradually eased with his father. After eating, his father even saw his son off to work, personally tying his shoelaces for him. Jonggin told his father to only answer the phone when Jonggin called. However, as soon as Jonggin left, his father received a call from the deputy minister telling him to bring the black notebook to the supervisory board office. Jonggin's father asked about the agreement between the two, and the deputy minister replied that the man named Set Nan would come to collect the notebook himself. Jonggin's father immediately prepared a gun, put on his jacket, and went outside. On the other side, Jong-gun went to see Lawyer Han and asked why she claimed his father was being targeted. After what just happened, Lawyer Han knows that the judge is definitely still free outside, and since Jong-gun's father has been in prison for the past 15 years, he couldn't have done those things. But there's another possibility, that Jong-gun's father, even in prison, could still manipulate people outside to act on his behalf. To clarify this, both of them need to investigate many more things. At this point, Jong-gun recounts that the manager wants Lawyer Han to prepare some money so he can escape. After that, the manager will let them know who the judge is within the police force. Ultimately, who should have? Jong-gun intended to meet the manager alone because he feared Lawyer Han would be in danger, but he couldn't afford it, so he came here for help. Lawyer Han decided to go with Jong-gun. She called her bodyguard to help her prepare a few things. Later, Captain Jiang came to find Lawyer Han, but she and Jong-gun had already left, leaving only the bodyguard at home. He asked the bodyguard where the two had gone, but the bodyguard refused to say. Unexpectedly, Captain Jiang used the bodyguard's son to threaten him, forcing him to reveal Lawyer Han's location. At this moment, Jong-gun and Lawyer Han brought the money to where the manager appeared and told Jong-gun to throw the money over to him. As soon as he received the money, the manager immediately broke the agreement. He pointed a gun at the two of them, saying that he didn't know who the detective they were looking for was, but the detective had found the manager's phone number and sent him a message. The manager followed the detective's instructions, went to the locker to get something. There was money and a gun there, along with a message. You must deal with Lawyer Han and Jong-gun. If you don't obey, the manager will have to face the detective today. All the troublesome people, including Jong-gun's father, were gone. Jong-gun was extremely worried about his father, but the manager pointed a gun at his head, preventing him from leaving. Suddenly, Captain Jiang appeared. He knocked the manager unconscious, and Jong-gun seized the opportunity to quickly run away without saying a word. He wanted to drive home to find his father, leaving Lawyer Han behind to deal with Captain Jiang. The manager, proud of having just saved 2 lives, intended to take the money from Lawyer Han as payment. Unexpectedly, when he touched the briefcase, he was electrocuted and fell to the ground. This was a trick that Lawyer Han had asked his bodyguard to prepare to catch the manager. It's bad luck for the greedy team leader, so she'll get what she deserves. Lawyer Han took Captain Jiang's handcuffs and tried to leave, but noticed the police arriving. She quickly threw the suitcase full of money into the trash can and acted out a scene in front of the police, portraying herself as the victim. Captain Jiang was injured because he saved someone, and the police couldn't do anything but let Lawyer Han go. Meanwhile, Father Dong-gun went to the supervisory board office as instructed by the deputy minister. He waited there for a while, and suddenly the head of the board appeared. Father Dong-gun suspected the head of the board. The assassin that the deputy minister mentioned immediately pointed his gun at him, but the head of the committee recognized the gun in Jong-gun's father's hand as belonging to a comrade who had been murdered 15 years earlier. He also suspected Jong-gun's father was the assassin. At that time, Jong-gun's father recounted that 15 years ago, his deceased comrade had arranged to meet him at the ecological park, but when he arrived, he only saw the car and not the person. Jong-gun's father tried to search the car and found his comrade's gun. He realized he had fallen into the assassin's trap, so he took the gun for self-defense, but it turned out that the trap was actually a trap. It's unfair to Jong-gun's father for killing his comrade. He spent 15 years in prison reflecting, considering who the real culprit was. After much thought, he realized that the only person who knew Jong-gun's father was meeting his comrade that day was the head of the investigation team. However, the head of the investigation team tried to clear his name, admitting that what Jong-gun's father said was true. But even knowing that he was meeting his comrade, the head of the investigation team still covered for him when the investigation team took his statement and even called to inform Jong-gun's father to flee. However, Jong-gun's father felt strange because he didn't receive any calls that day. The accounts of the conflict began when Jong-gun's father left the house. His wife was still alive, Jong-gun was asleep, but when the head of the department hung up and went inside, his wife was already dead. Jong-gun was hiding in the bathtub. The two looked at each other suspiciously. The deputy minister told Jong-gun's father that the chief would come to get the ledger, but the head of the department said that the deputy minister told him to get the black ledger to resolve the issue with Jong-gun's father. In the end, who was telling the truth? Jong-gun's father felt helpless, so he returned home early, promising to meet the head of the department another day to find out the truth. That evening, Jong-gun returned home and the apartment building is currently surrounded by police. Hearing that there's been a murder, he discovers in the ambulance that Chief Ro is seriously injured in the head and unconscious. Gongan realizes something and rushes back to his room, only to find out it's his father. He's stunned and speechless. Meanwhile, Lawyer Han arrives at the forensic room after receiving news of Gongan's father's death. She examines the body and is surprised to find his thumb also severed. It was the same killer who committed the crime. On the other side, Chief Ro has just recovered. Summoned to the police station for questioning, he recounted that he went with his father, Gun, to his house to confirm some things, but was unexpectedly knocked unconscious by someone who suddenly attacked him. The first thing his father asked was about the black notebook. The head of the department said he hadn't gotten it yet. Gongan's father didn't reveal anything, making the deputy minister angry and leave. At this point, Gongan had calmed down. He searched the house for clues but only found his father's blood on the floor and in the bathroom. Inadvertently, Gongan realized he had mixed up his childhood memories. The person who killed his mother wasn't his father, but the head of the department. He was also the one who found Gongan in the bathroom. But was this the truth buried for 15 years, or just another misconception of Gongan's after losing his father? Later, head of Department J and Sojin came to Gongan's house to investigate. The head of the department searched the entire house for something. Seeing this, Gongan became extremely angry. He suspected that the black notebook was the reason his father died. In Gongan's mind was the smile of the lightning killer who murdered his mother. Gongan angrily chased him away, lying that he needed to rest. There was no other way. The chief of the investigation team had to lead the trembling man away. The next day, chief of the investigation team went to the prison to visit the warden and told him about the death of his father. He told him how the investigator had tortured him before killing him to find out the location of the black notebook. Chief of the investigation team wanted the warden to reconsider. 250 people from the same investigation team had lost their lives because of a notebook. He really wanted to know what was written in it. The warden didn't want chief of the investigation team to sacrifice himself in vain like the others, so he told him the truth. The notebook contained evidence of corruption by the officials, high-ranking within the police force. That investigator is just a pawn for them. Even if the chief catches him, the officials will find another investigator to replace him, and he still can't avoid danger. However, the chief not only wants to find the investigator but also the notebook exposing the crimes of the officials so that no one else will lose their life unjustly. That evening, Gongan received a call from Bark's sister, asking him to come and pick up something their father left behind before his death. He went to her place and left an item. Bark's sister seemed to know what it was. Gongan needed to come immediately. She was afraid she would be in danger, so early in the morning, Gongan went to Chosen's sister's house. But no one answered the door despite his repeated calls, and the phone kept ringing from inside. Gongan had to call Sojin for help. As soon as she arrived, he grabbed a lever from his car and carried it up to Chosen's sister's house. He tried to break down the door, but Chosen stopped him, saying they would be arrested for trespassing. Gongan then called Lawyer Han, as she was the homeowner's legal representative, would have the right to enter, but Lawyer Han didn't know the security guard's password, so he had to use tools to break the lock. Once inside, everyone discovered a bloodstain on the window. Last night, someone knocked out Bark Chosen's younger sister here and took her away. Then Gongan got into Bark Chosen's younger sister's car to get CCTV footage to check. Suddenly, Captain Zhang appeared. Someone had reported the disappearance to him. This wasn't a case for the supervisory board, so Gongan had to hand over the evidence he had collected and go to the police station to give a statement because of his appearance at the scene. At the victim's house, right in the interrogation room, Jangan didn't hesitate to tell the truth. His sister, Hakusho, Cho's son, called him to get her father's belongings. Captain Jiang went outside to discuss with the deputy minister. Both suspected that the item Jangan mentioned was the black notebook. The deputy minister did not allow the disappearance to be made public because doing so would expose the secret of the black notebook. Many people wanted to get involved in this matter. Captain Jiang worried that his sister, Hakusho, Cho's son, would be in danger, but the chief said they shouldn't worry about a small gang company director. Just send someone to secretly find her. We are done. Anyway, that's the only clue from the black notebook. At this point, Zun joined the forensic team to examine the crime scene at Bark Chosen's sister's house and reported to Gongan. As everyone predicted, Bark Chosen's sister was hit hard on the head and taken outside. There was blood on the window and on the floor. Later, Zun returned to the supervisory office and gave the stolen apartment building security camera footage to Gongan. After watching it, he discovered that Bark Chosen's sister hadn't been taken out of the apartment building. Jong-gun called the head of the department and asked for his help. Upon hearing the news that his sister, Sun, had gone missing, the head of the department immediately returned to his office. However, he was currently restricted from investigating and couldn't inform his sister, Sun, that she was still in the apartment building and call the police for assistance. The head of the department decided to go there himself to find another party. Lawyer Han handed him a piece of paper, and the bodyguard led him to that address. This was a piece of paper she had found in Sun's sister's house, suspected to be where she hid the black notebook. The bodyguard drove Lawyer Han to a warehouse. Unexpectedly, Captain Jiang's group also knew about it. On the way here, the bodyguard secretly informed him. Because Captain Jiang was still using his son to threaten Captain Jiang, he sent people inside to search, but the result was nothing. It turned out that on the way here, the bodyguard admitted that he was an informant for Captain Jiang. Lawyer Han Xiangji tricked him. After going a short distance, Captain Jiang realized he had been tricked. He sent people to search and scoured all the warehouses that his sister, Sun, owned. The next day, Captain Jiang received information, but we were one step behind Lawyer Han. She and the bodyguard stole the safe and ran away. The fourth-ranking officer sighed in surprise. The head of the committee burst in. He wanted the deputy minister's permission to investigate the disappearance of Bak Chow's sister. The deputy minister told Captain Zhang to go first and then made a condition to the head of the committee. The supervisory committee must cooperate with the investigation committee. The head of the committee agreed to this proposal. The deputy minister continued to ask how he would do it. The head of the committee wanted to mobilize forces to the apartment building to search for Bak Chow's sister. The next day, the police sealed off the apartment building. Captain Zhang was the leader. Zhong-gun also came to participate. He accidentally saw some familiar cleaning staff in the room opposite. When he got home that night, Zhong-gun checked the security camera footage and realized they were the cleaning staff who cleaned up the crime scene where his father died. He tried calling Sojin and found out that the cleaning company had a special service, self-investigation of crime scenes. Zhong-gun seemed to understand something and hurriedly returned to the apartment building. He went into the room the cleaning staff had left that morning. After checking for a while, Zhong-gun discovered a ring with hair still stuck in it in the bathroom. He intended to. Taking it away, he unexpectedly ran into Chief Ro, who had also arrived at Zhong-gun's room. He asked how he knew about this place. Chief Du didn't say anything but went straight into the bathroom and searched for something. Zhong-gun ignored him and ran to the room. His younger sister, Bak Chow Sunoon, confirmed that the ring was indeed hers. The next day, Zhong-gun showed Chief Ro the video recording of the cleaning staff leaving the apartment building. Last night, Zhong-gun didn't notice anything unusual, but today, Chief Ro immediately recognized that when the cleaning staff returned to the apartment building, they were carrying a ring, the blue box suspected of containing a dismembered body. The head of the inspection team and Zhong-gun went to the sanitation company to check the place, which also provided cremation services. They couldn't find the blue box, but Zhong-gun discovered a pile of freshly dug feces. He asked the staff to take the number of feces back with him and took the employee to the station for questioning. However, they couldn't find any clues. They didn't know what was in the blue box the sanitation worker took away, only that it was burned. The employee didn't want to open the deceased's belongings to search through the contents. The cleaning company's number was a fake number, using the name of a tenant in an apartment building who said they would be moving into that room and asked the cleaning staff to clean it beforehand. After taking the employee's statement, the police let him out. He wondered what the police wanted the blue box for. The chief told the employee that inside was a small, hidden corpse, making him sweat. At this moment, Lawyer Han entered the cell, found the manager, and prepared a confession for him. She wanted the manager to deny being the murderer of the serial killer and only confess to the crime. The thief's wife was murdered. However, it will be said that the matter was ordered by the chairman of the conglomerate. The manager didn't know whether that would help him reduce his sentence or put him in more danger, but decided to trust Lawyer Han one last time. Suddenly, a group of prison guards rushed in, subdued the manager, and forced Lawyer Han to stand up. Then the chief prosecutor came to see her. Seeing the confession on the table, the chief prosecutor knew it was Lawyer Han's trick. He began to threaten her, but Lawyer Han was not afraid and said that she herself was holding a black notebook containing the chief prosecutor's name, not only for corruption but also for many other crimes. The chief prosecutor immediately changed his attitude and asked her what she wanted. Lawyer Han only wanted to meet the internal police investigator who had attacked her husband 7 years ago. However, the chief prosecutor didn't know who it was, so Lawyer Han made him find out. Incidentally, she also asked the chief prosecutor to help her get a reduced sentence for the manager. He didn't dare do anything to Lawyer Han because he was afraid she would publicly reveal the notebook, so he agreed to the request and stood there. The angry director got up and went outside. He called the deputy minister, demanding that he get the black notebook from Lawyer Han. The deputy minister could only nod and hang up. The director, still somewhat angry, pressured the head of department to secretly bring the black notebook back to him. At this point, the head of department wondered why the deputy director insisted on getting the black notebook. Could it be that his name was also inside? The director denied it, saying he only wanted to use the black notebook to overthrow some high-ranking officials and take their positions. The director countered, "Why do you always also wanted to get involved in cases related to the blacklist?" Or the head of the committee also had his name in it. The head of the committee shook his head. If someone in the supervisory committee specializing in catching corrupt police officers had their name in the bribery blacklist, it would be the most ridiculous thing in the world. The head of the committee wanted to use the blacklist to catch all the corrupt officials and restore justice to the brothers who had sacrificed their lives. After saying that, the head of the committee stood up and left. The deputy minister despised his ideals because even if all these corrupt officials were caught, another group would be produced. Not bothering to focus on doing the immediate task well, after leaving the office, the deputy minister called Han, then went straight to her house. The two went into a private room to talk. The deputy minister directly asked Lawyer Han if she was holding the black book. Lawyer Han neither denied nor admitted it. The deputy minister guessed she didn't have the book, and Lawyer Han's real purpose was to make the man who committed the crime 7 years ago think she was holding the black book. Lawyer Han wanted him to come to her directly so she could get revenge for the 7-year-old grudge. Before, the head of the committee reminded Lawyer Han that what she was doing was very dangerous, but Lawyer Han wanted more than that. She wanted an answer for Gong Gun, who was responsible for the loss of both his father and mother. The head of the committee admitted that he also had this goal. 15 years ago, the head of the committee believed that Gong Gun's father was the murderer, but couldn't find evidence, so he fabricated it and wrongly accused him. However, upon witnessing Gong Gun's father's death, the head of the committee realized his mistake. He regretted it and wanted to atone, so he desperately needed the black notebook for help, but it turned out that Lawyer Han didn't have it either. Suddenly, Donggun pushed the door open and burst in. "I have something to say to Lawyer Han, the head of the department. Please excuse me." Outside, he instructed the bodyguards to protect Lawyer Han well because what she was doing was extremely dangerous. The bodyguards didn't understand but agreed. Inside, Donggun got straight to the point. He wanted Lawyer Han to help him use his connections to pressure the cleaning company into revealing who was behind the cleaning of the room where Bark's sister's body was hidden that day, because Donggun knew the name of the cleaning staff member who had been dishonest. When giving testimony before the supervisory board the previous time, Lawyer Han had no reason to refuse Donggun's request. The next day, the employee, under pressure from Lawyer Han, was forced to contact Donggun, asking him to help him with something. Afterwards, the employee went to the police station to meet the person who had instructed him, but unexpectedly it was Captain Zhang. Captain Zhang had taken money from the cleaning company and given it to them. Captain Zhang pointed out which apartment buildings had people in them and told the cleaning company not to come and clean them. After talking to Captain Zhang, the cleaning employee turned around and reported. Zhonggun reports to him that the task he assigned has been completed. Zhonggun overheard the entire conversation and suspects Captain Jiang knows something about the nature of Bai Chose's younger sister. Later, Captain Jiang goes out, and Zhonggun follows him to a restaurant. The two see Captain Jiang meeting a girl and giving her some money. After the girl leaves, Zhonggun immediately follows them. Unfortunately, she discovers him. It turns out this girl is just Captain Jiang's daughter with his ex-wife. Zhonggun directly sat down opposite Captain Zhang and said that he was the one who killed Baekhyun Chosen's younger sister. Captain Zhang immediately denied it and recounted the results of his investigation. He discovered that after Baekhyun's younger sister called Zhonggun on the night she disappeared, she also called Chief Ro and arranged to meet Chief Ro at his house. He arrived before Zhonggun and stayed there for 30 minutes. Based on the above evidence, Captain Zhang concluded that Chief Ro was the one who killed Baekhyun Chosen's younger sister. Zhonggun wondered why Chief Ro would do that. Captain Zhang explained that it was because the black notebook probably has Chief Ro's name in it too. Zhonggun still doesn't believe it. Captain Zhang tells him another thing. The decisive evidence in the case of Zhonggun's father killing his mother 15 years ago was found by Trung Bi. Gonggun immediately falls into deep thought. He stands up and leaves to think. On the other side, Chief Ro goes to see the deputy minister. Unexpectedly, the The chief prosecutor also comes. They want Chief Rowe to go to Lawyer Han's office to get the black notebook. Both admit that their names are also in it, but they want to bury the past and live for the future. They were going to retire, so they needed to maintain some honor in the department. The head of the department knew this was a trick by the two people and also knew that Lawyer Han didn't have the notebook, but still pretended to comply with their request to see what their real purpose was. Right after he left the room, the director called Lawyer Han and told her to go to the chairman of the conglomerate to find out who the real judge was. But when Lawyer Han went to meet the chairman, he was alone in his office. She realized she had been tricked and immediately stood up and left. At this time, Jonggun reviewed the video recording at the apartment building. Upon discovering that Chifa had arrived on the day his sister, Sun, went missing, he immediately understood something. He called Chief D to arrange a meeting, but Chief D had just gone to see Lawyer Han and would return to meet Jonggun later. However, Jonggun lacked patience. He took Run to Lawyer Han's house, carrying a gun and handcuffing Run in the car. He wanted to meet Chifa alone. Jonggun went straight to Lawyer Han's office and saw Chifa there. He directly asked him if he was the one who killed his sister, Sun. Jonggun recounted the events. On the day his sister, Sun, went missing, the chief of staff came to see her. However, the chief of staff still denied it. Jonggun was forced to take out the gun he had prepared beforehand, and the two started fighting until the Lawyer Han's office was almost completely destroyed. Only then did the chief of staff reveal the truth. Sun was still alive. Jonggun still didn't believe it. At that moment, Lawyer Han appeared. The chief of staff's words were true. Sun was still alive. She had just called the lawyer to inform him. That day, the chief of staff knew about her. The girl, Sun, will be in danger, so hide her in another room and fabricate a kidnapping and murder case to ensure her safety. After hearing this, all of Jonggun's suspicions were resolved. Everyone returned together. On the way, Sojin's phone kept ringing, but she didn't answer. Sojin asked Jonggun to let her out of the car, which made him suspicious. Then Jonggun returned to his office, opened Sojin's computer, and discovered that it was all video footage from the supervisory office. The actions here were all secretly filmed by Sojin. Unexpectedly, she was the informant who secretly placed the notebook on the table. Later, Jonggun returned home and tried to find his father's room to see where he had hidden the black notebook. He searched all night but couldn't find it. The next day, Jonggun woke up early to go to work in the shoes his father had tied the laces for him the day before. Jonggun felt something under the insole, a USB drive. Unexpectedly, the black notebook everyone had been searching for was this small item. Jonggun put the USB drive into the computer to check. Inside were all the secret documents of the British police force. He called to inform them. Chief Rowe and Lawyer Han immediately went to Jonggun's house. Unexpectedly, Jonggun discovered someone had broken in. He went outside to check. The lightning killer rushed towards him, grabbed him by the neck, and tied him to the doorknob. He also used tape to seal Jonggun's mouth so he couldn't call for help. Then the lightning killer took the USB drive and threw Jonggun's computer into a basin of water. He was preparing to take the final step, murder and cut off his fingers, but the lightning killer couldn't have imagined that Jonggun had a gun in his pants. Seeing Jonggun, the lightning killer fired the gun at him. On my side, I, the lightning assassin, hurriedly left. Jonggun shot and shattered the doorknob to escape. He ran outside to search but couldn't find the lightning assassin. Jonggun ran to the security room to check the CCTV, but it was flickering. Just then, the head of the department and Lawyer Han arrived and learned that the lightning assassin had taken the black gun. They were extremely disappointed, but luckily Jonggun was still alive. On the other side, X ran to her office, turned on the computer, and realized that Jonggun had discovered she was an informant. She didn't know how to explain it to him, but she was surprised. She received a call from the head of the department. He wanted her to come to Jonggun's house to examine the crime scene. The killer left behind a noose, a roll of tape, and pliers to cut off his finger. Lawyer Ha recognized the pliers as the killer had used on her 7 years ago, and she panicked. Later, Sojin came to Jonggun's house to help him treat his wound and took the opportunity to apologize. Sojin was indeed a mole, but hadn't revealed any secrets of the supervisory board. Jonggun knew that, if Sojin had revealed them, their board would have been disbanded long ago. He didn't blame Sojin, only advised her to transfer to another department. Jonggun will also keep this secret from the head of the supervisory board. Run felt extremely grateful. After saying that, Jonggun stood up and left. At this time, everyone returned to the supervisory board office. Zongan recounted what he had seen in the Black Book, including a video recording of the chief prosecutor using drugs. The time was May 2017. The location was at a nightclub. Mentioning this, the head of the supervisory board remembered a wealthy man who was also an addict and owned a nightclub. He was certain these two were connected. Lawyer Han wanted to investigate because she was handling a lawsuit for him. The manager of the tycoon surely knows something. Later, Lawyer Han enters the cell to find the manager and question him about the relationship between the chief prosecutor and the tycoon. Unexpectedly, the tycoon had previously been accused of drug trafficking but was helped to escape conviction by the chief prosecutor. The reason is that the chief prosecutor was filmed by the head of the tycoon's company strategy team, while sniffing MSG, the head of the strategy team, is the one who collects police charges and puts them in a blacklist so the tycoon's company can use them to manipulate everything. The police, however, this backfired. Later, the chief strategist suddenly disappeared in June 2017, leaving only the black notebook for the chairman of the conglomerate. The chairman sent a manager to find the chief strategist, but he was caught by a lightning strike man, who cut off his thumb as a direct warning to the conglomerate. Afterward, the conglomerate was threatened by the lightning strike man, who secretly took the black notebook away from the chairman. He kept it at home and waited for the lightning strike man to come and retrieve it, but the thief stole it and handed it over to Lawyer Han, who informed the manager that the black notebook had returned to the lightning strike man's hands. The manager made him extremely worried. All those who knew the secret about the black book could be dealt with so that no one would remember that the black book ever existed. Lawyer Han had a question. If the manager knew so much about the black book, was there any way to find it? The manager told her that when the black book was activated on a computer connected to the internet, it would reveal the location. After hearing these things, Lawyer Han stood up and left. The manager reminded her to be careful because the closer she got to the truth, the more dangerous it would become. Lawyer Han also considered this herself, and then she left. Returning to the supervisory board office, they announce what the manager just told everyone. Lawyer Han points out that a drug dealer disappeared in June along with the chief strategist of the conglomerate. She suspects the prosecutor general ordered the assassin to kill those who knew his secrets, but the head of the board has a question. If that's the case, killing just those two would be enough. Why did the assassin have to kill others as well, creating a mass murder case targeting all thugs? After the drug dealer's drugs were still circulating, they were exchanged through someone. Instead of asking many questions here, they went directly to find the drug dealer's henchman. The head of the committee, Dong Gan, and the head of the committee immediately set off. They were told by a man that the henchman had just left. Fortunately, the man managed to read a little of the message and pointed out that the henchman would go to a nearby phone booth. The two continued their search. He saw his henchman preparing to contact someone. Dong Gan handcuffed him. Chief J snatched the phone and, based on the message, dialed a number. The other end received a voicemail indicating a location at a massage parlor. Chief Ro and Dong Gan set off, taking their henchmen with them. The three arrived at a shop that also served bird food. Inside, both noticed something unusual and immediately drew their guns, but there was no one there except for two corpses of women who had just been murdered. Dong Gan rushed outside to search, but found no trace. The chief of the investigation realized that the victims all had their fingers cut off by the investigator, who was definitely an insider in the police force. Dong Gan wondered why the investigator had to kill all the thugs. The chief suspected that these thugs were all connected to the blacklist. Now that the blacklist had been found, they had to eliminate everyone who knew about its existence. Dong Gan asked the chief what his next plan was, and what else he wanted besides finding the mastermind behind it. On another front, Lawyer Han came to the forensic department to ask about the results of the examination of the things the investigator left at Dong Gan's house. No fingerprints were found on any of the items, but 10 DNA samples were found on the finger-cutting pliers, meaning the killer murdered at least 9 people besides the 5 victims in the serial murder case. There were also the lawyer couple, the manager, and Dong Gan's father. It seems the killer wanted to admire his work, so he didn't wipe away the bloodstains on the pliers. Lawyer Han felt, this is truly a terrifying psychopath. That evening, Lawyer Han went home and Chief Ro came to see her to report that the killer had murdered 2 more people. Today, knowing that the lightning strike was related to the chief prosecutor, the two of them planned to arrest him. The next day, the supervisory board prepared to arrest the chief prosecutor for investigation into the crime of using banned substances. They wondered if he could still escape without an arrest warrant. Lawyer Han had a plan. She published an article claiming that the chief prosecutor was suspected of using banned substances by a lawyer named Dan while presiding over a trial. This way, They could detain him for investigation. If the chief prosecutor resisted, they would add more charges. Resisting law enforcement this time, Chief Rose also asked the department head and deputy minister for help, so they wouldn't make things difficult for the supervisory board. The four of them went to the deputy minister's office. The director had been lured there by the deputy minister and was inside. The deputy minister handed over the remaining tasks to the supervisory board. Sojin also distracted the prosecutors. Chief Rose immediately arrested the person to take hair and urine samples for testing. The director wanted to resist but was too old and weak to move. Dong-gun started taking hair samples. Suddenly, Lawyer Han changed her mind. She would. They helped the director on the condition that he obeys if he has a lawyer bailing him out. The supervisory board cannot forcibly apprehend the suspect without an arrest warrant. Director Du and Jong-gun wonder if this wasn't their original plan. Lawyer Han has another plan to expose the lightning killer. Even though it's now confirmed that the director used banned substances, if he's let go, the lightning killer might immediately deal with the director. Director Rowe agrees to hand the director over to Lawyer Han, hoping she will give everyone a satisfactory answer. Lawyer Han also asks the bodyguard for help. She calls reporters to the room in case the director changes his mind. She takes the director outside so the reporters can put him all over the newspapers. If the director runs away, she confirms the suspicion about drug use is accurate, and the police will have the right to arrest him for further investigation. Then Lawyer Han takes the director home and sues him. She will tell the director how to change his blood so that the banned substances are no longer detectable in his body, but the director must also tell everything he knows about the informant within the police force named director. The chief said that the investigator came from the Knights Association, which includes selected elites. One person can simultaneously do two jobs, police officer and prosecutor, plus a third job as a professional investigator specializing in catching criminals. At this time, Chief Rowe and Jong-gun went to see Lawyer Han but were stopped by the bodyguard in the lobby. A scuffle ensued between Jong-gun and him. Luckily, Chief Rowe stopped the two of them. He only wanted to wait in front of the office for Lawyer Han, so the bodyguard let them go up. But when they reached the door, all three discovered. Bloodstains immediately pushed open the door. They discovered that the chief prosecutor had been dealt with. Lawyer Han was sitting on the floor in a panic, holding a gun pointed at the three of them, saying she wanted to kill him. The head of the education department, Dong-gun, went to find the culprit. He would stay behind to reassure Lawyer Han. After a while, the head of the education department managed to calm her down. Then he ran outside with Dong-gun to search for the culprit, but they couldn't find him. The next day, the case of the chief prosecutor being murdered was reported in the newspapers, but the vice minister announced that it was a case of self-examination due to fear of punishment. The head of the supervisory board, Rowe, goes to see the deputy minister to ask why he brought out the video recording of the director using drugs for the head of the supervisory board. The head of the supervisory board suspects the deputy minister has obtained the black notebook because this video is only stored there, but the deputy minister denies it, causing the head of the supervisory board to just laugh. Realizing that the supervisory board can no longer handle this matter on its own, the head of the supervisory board wants to ask Sojin for help, but unexpectedly, he knows Sojin is a mole, even Dong-gun, but because it doesn't harm the supervisory board, he turns a blind eye. Moreover, the head of the supervisory board understands people. Standing behind Zun, he also wanted to help them. He asked XZ to contact that person. Surprisingly, it turned out to be the police chief. At this time, Lawyer Han was taken into the interrogation room. Although the deputy minister concluded it was a self-investigation case, she was still arrested for investigation. Captain Jiang informed Lawyer Han that the gun only had her fingerprints and the prosecutor's fingerprints. There were also traces of gunpowder on Lawyer Han's hand. He asked Lawyer Han who she had shot. However, she was still in shock and couldn't remember. Outside, the police chief and the deputy minister were listening to the interrogation. The police chief knew this was the deputy minister's plan was to exploit the past fears of Lawyer Han. She couldn't hold back and went into the interrogation room. Then, Lawyer Han was taken outside. Lawyer Han asked why the director was helping her. The director wasn't just helping Lawyer Han, but also the entire supervisory board. After that, the head of the board took Lawyer Han back to his office for a private conversation. He wanted to hear everything that happened yesterday. Lawyer Han began to recount that while she and the director were negotiating, a lightning strike suddenly broke in. He shot the director in the head and then placed the gun in his hand. We fabricated a lightning strike. Lawyer Han asked who the lightning strike perpetrator was. He just laughed and walked away. Lawyer Han quickly took the gun from the chief prosecutor's hand and shot the perpetrator. He was hit but still managed to escape. Chief Prosecutor Rowe also remembered there were 2 bullet holes and bloodstains on the door. However, when Jun and Jongin came to check, the bloodstains were gone. Lawyer Han admitted that she had instructed her bodyguard to take a little blood and erase all traces. She wanted to be the only one who knew who the culprit was. Chief Prosecutor Rowe advised her to let the police investigate, but Lawyer Han couldn't. The police report was again, and she stood up and left, making the head of the department angry and slamming his chair. At this time, Jong-gun and Sojin couldn't get a blood sample, so they decided to stay at Lawyer Han's house, but no matter how much they questioned him, he wouldn't say anything. Suddenly, someone came and informed the bodyguard of an important piece of news. The substance the bodyguard had asked the quack doctor to test contained 90% of a banned substance. Jong-gun and Sojin overheard this. It turned out that what the quack doctor was talking about was the number of tests that Jong-gun had obtained from the cleaning company and asked Lawyer Han to have tested. He also didn't trust the police after hearing this news. Jong-gun returned to report to the head of the department. He suspected that illegal substances were still being trafficked by gangs, so he decided to interrogate the henchman of the drug dealer he caught the day before. Initially, the henchman refused to confess, but when Banzo offered to help his henchman get safe and reduce his sentence, he agreed to tell the whole truth. After receiving the message, the henchman would know where the drugs were stored, he would go and retrieve them, sell them, and the money would be divided and transferred to several anonymous accounts. Besides delivering the goods, he had no other duties. Dong wondered if the henchman's only duty was this one task. Where did the drugs come from? Who was the consumer and who was the money launderer? The head of the investigation remembered something. In the list of those being investigated, there was a man who specialized in selling drugs. He might have used anonymous accounts to collect money. Another man, involved in construction, might have used real estate to launder money. These men formed an organized drug trafficking ring. However, there was still a question. Where did the drugs come from? The head of the investigation arrested them. In his thoughts, he remembered the name of the prosecutor who had been murdered. He was also an addict. Why kill the prosecutor? The prosecutor suddenly understood the situation. The prosecutor was also involved in the drug trafficking ring, and he was the supplier, with the goods hidden in the prosecutor's office. Unexpectedly, he went into Dong-gun and asked if the prosecutor's office might have drugs. He remembered that it was where the gangs recovered drugs, totaling about 300 kilograms per year. The method of disposal was burning, and the disposal location. It's a secret. Donggan and Chief Rowe immediately run to the sanitation company. This is where the prosecutor's office handles prohibited substances in the sanitation company's incinerator. Chief Rowe finds a secret compartment where the drug will be placed. When burned, it won't get inside, and it can deceive others. After burning, the drug will be taken away for sale. Donggan grabs the sanitation worker and threatens to arrest him for trafficking prohibited substances. The worker quickly denies responsibility, blaming the prosecutor's office for instigating Chief Rowe to do as is told, promising to keep it. Giving a way out, the employee quickly agreed. Later, the inspectors brought the prohibited substances to destroy them. The sanitation workers followed the correct procedure. After everything was done, they closed the incinerator and began the destruction process. When everything was finished, the inspectors checked one last time and left. Just as they went outside, the police, led by Captain Zhang, raided and arrested people. Another group of police officers went inside and caught the sanitation company employees red-handed taking the drugs. The police confiscated the evidence and took everyone to the station. The next day, the deputy minister opened the press conference was about to publicly announce the achievements of the investigation team he led. He was sitting drafting a document when suddenly the head of Department D entered. He advised the deputy minister to temporarily suspend the press conference if he didn't want to lose face. Unbeknownst to him, this was a plan by the head of Department D. He knew the deputy minister always sent Captain Zhang to monitor the situation, so he used a counter-strategy to play a trick on them. The head of Department D's purpose wasn't to attack the procuratorate but to shake the deputy minister's position. After hearing this, the deputy minister understood the problem. He ordered Captain Zhang to re-examine the amount of banned substances that had just been found. Outside, Captain Jiang was informed by his subordinates that all the counterfeit drugs they had seized were fake, causing him great disappointment. At this moment, the deputy minister was in a crisis due to the failure of the investigation into the prosecutor's office secretly distributing counterfeit drugs. He was certain they would retaliate. Suddenly, Lawyer Han entered. She told the deputy minister to watch the video of the prosecutor general being framed. Previously, the deputy minister announced that the prosecutor general had self-examined and obstructed the investigation. If the video is released now, it will be false. The deputy minister's mistake will become a weakness that the prosecutor's office can exploit to get full repayment of both principal and interest in the recent drug case. Furthermore, the blood of the perpetrator in the murder of the chief prosecutor was also taken by lawyer Han for testing. If DNA comparison is found and a matching sample is found with someone within the police force, then the deputy minister will also be guilty of covering up for a subordinate. In general, the deputy minister's position is very difficult to maintain. Lawyer Han is giving the deputy minister a chance. She will hand over the original tape if the deputy minister agrees to let the investigator come to meet her. The vice minister needed time to think. Lawyer Han agreed to leave first. Immediately afterwards, the vice minister called the police at the relevant level, requesting them to find a way to arrest Lawyer Han's bodyguard. His real purpose was to eliminate the lawyer's bodyguard so that the investigators could act more easily. Later, Lawyer Han's bodyguard was summoned to the police station for questioning on charges of possessing weapons. But the items he was carrying were all permitted by the state. The police only needed to keep the bodyguard there for a while, as instructed by the vice minister. Another party, Lawyer Han, returns to the supervisory board and talks to the deputy minister. He's probably about to contact the investigator. The supervisory board just needs to follow, eavesdrop, and catch them red-handed. Everyone is preparing to leave, but Lawyer Han doesn't go. She's about to meet with someone from the prosecutor's office. The other three have to leave first. Immediately after everyone leaves, Lawyer Han locks the door. In fact, she knows the investigator will come looking for her to steal the tape back, which is why she didn't go with everyone. Outside, the head of the board, Du Bao Dong, and So Jun are following the deputy minister. He will follow behind. The head of the supervisory board suspected that Lawyer Han would continue to act alone, so he installed cameras in the supervisory board's office to see what Lawyer Han intended to do and to ensure her safety. At this time, Zhong Gan and Sojun followed the deputy minister, preparing their equipment to eavesdrop. Suddenly, Zhong Gan received a call from an unknown number. He answered and found out it was the deputy minister. The deputy minister had discovered the supervisory board was monitoring him. The deputy minister approached Zhong Gan but asked where Lawyer Han was, making him feel something was amiss. Zhong Gan realized Lawyer Han was in danger. The man hurriedly got into the car and returned to the other side. The man with the electric stun gun also appeared in the supervisory board office, standing opposite Lawyer Han. She immediately grabbed a stun gun and lunged at him. The man with the electric stun gun only needed to push Lawyer Han's hand away to send him tumbling to the ground. But seizing the opportunity, she picked up a knife from her pocket and stabbed the man with the electric stun gun in the chest. The man with the electric stun gun, enraged, threw Lawyer Han to a painful blow, then repeatedly kicked her. She stabbed the man with the electric stun gun in the leg and knocked him down. He began to tremble and pulled out a bottle of medicine from his jacket. Unexpectedly, the man with the electric stun gun was a drug addict. Lawyer Han utterly despised the man with the electric stun gun. The enraged assassin took out pliers and severed the fingers, intending to kill Lawyer Han. Outside, Chief Josen, seeing the commotion on camera, prepared his gun and rushed in to subdue the assassin. Lawyer Han, wanting to deal with his enemy himself, used a stun gun to shock Chief Josen. She snatched the gun and chased after the assassin outside. Because he was too severely injured, the assassin couldn't run far. Lawyer Han intended to finish off the assassin to avenge the murder from 7 years ago, but when she removed the assassin's mask, she realized he was a subordinate of Captain Jiang. He was much younger than the lawyer had imagined. Han Bei, a year ago, was probably still a high school student when he faced the lightning strike. He also admitted that he was invited by the police to join the lightning strike gang. He said he had only killed 3 people: the man with glasses, the prosecutor, and Zhonggan's father. The other victims were probably murdered by members of the gang. They were all people who deserved to die, but he insisted that he never intended to kill innocent people, which is why he spared Zhonggan. At this moment, Zhonggan returned and realized that the lightning strike was the USB drive thief. It turned out that he didn't intend to kill anyone that time, intending to harm Zhonggan, but because the lightning striker attacked Zhonggan's father, Zhonggan couldn't control his anger. He grabbed the lightning striker's neck and was about to finish him off with a gun. Luckily, Lawyer Han and Chief D stopped him in time. Zhonggan finally put down his gun. After handling everything, Captain Zhang went to see Chief D to inform him of the situation. Captain Zhang wanted to ask about Lawyer Han's condition, but she was fine. At that time, the two reminisced about old times. They had both been in the same platoon. Everything had changed, but they are still police officers and their goal is still to catch criminals. Captain Zhang knows he is going in the wrong direction and wants to turn back to help the chief officer, but he doesn't accept his former colleague. The chief officer wants Captain Zhang to help him with something. Later, Captain Zhang leads the police to the deputy minister's house. From his wife's car, they take out some drugs. These are drugs that the chief officer obtained from the incinerator of the sanitation company. Because there is no other way to arrest the deputy minister, he is forced to fabricate evidence that he is trafficking illegal substances. On the other side, Chief Officer Rowe goes to the deputy minister's room. The chief announced that he had no way out, and the deputy minister also knew this. But when the police raided and arrested the deputy minister for drug trafficking, he was extremely angry because he didn't expect the chief to fabricate evidence. After the deputy minister was taken away, the chief congratulated the chief for just handling a major case. The chief assigned the chief another task, to arrest the gang of thugs and find the blacklist to expose the corrupt government apparatus. Even without the chief's instruction, the chief insisted on doing it. At this time, Lawyer Han returned home. The bodyguard informed her that someone had come to see her. Upon seeing the person, Lawyer Han was both happy and heartbroken because it was her husband, whom she thought had died 2 years earlier. Unexpectedly, he had been secretly taken abroad for treatment by a mysterious person. The next day, the deputy minister was released to meet his defense lawyer. The person waiting for him in the room was the head of Department R. As soon as he saw the deputy minister, he immediately reprimanded him, saying that everything the head of Department R was doing was wrong. The deputy minister still firmly believed that what he was doing was right, that he was helping the police catch all the criminals in the country, could only laugh in surprise. Lawyer Han burst in, chased the head of the department away to speak privately with the deputy minister. The head of the department had to return to the supervisory department's office. However, he had installed a hidden camera in the deputy minister's office but couldn't hear anything because Lawyer Han had set up a jammer. At that time, Lawyer Han told the deputy minister the purpose of her visit. It turned out that her husband had asked Lawyer Han for help in the deputy minister's lawsuit. He disappeared for 8 years and only returned, not to see his wife, but because he heard that the deputy minister had been arrested. Lawyer Han didn't know the purpose of her visit. What is a husband? But I warned the deputy minister not to bring up the events of 7 years ago again, as it will affect my husband's mental state. After saying this, Lawyer Han stood up and left, but left the position for her husband, Lawyer Run, so that he could continue negotiating with the deputy minister. At this time, Gongan came to Lawyer Han's office and asked about Lawyer Jun's appearance. She had thought her husband had died at the hands of the lightning assassin. Both were taken to the hospital in critical condition. When she woke up, Lawyer Han heard the news of her husband's death, but after 7 years, he had returned and told Lawyer Han the truth. Her husband was taken abroad by a mysterious person to be saved, but the trauma of the past prevented him from returning to the country and contacting Lawyer Han. Recently, upon hearing that the deputy minister had been arrested for involvement with a lightning organization that cut off her husband's fingers, she returned to investigate. Lawyer Han, trembling, defended the deputy minister, only to legitimize the investigation process. Lawyer Han further recounted that when she and her husband were tortured by the lightning organization, she was so terrified that she told the lightning organization not to cut her hand, but to cut her husband's hand instead. The husband, out of resentment towards her, hadn't contacted her for the past 7 years. Now, regretting it, Lawyer Han agrees to help her husband unconditionally. At that time, Lawyer Han also tells Gong Gong that her husband's 2 thumbs were severed by lightning and asks, "Where did humans evolve from?" Suddenly, the bodyguard brings in coffee. He answers everyone's long-standing question. Humans evolved from the thumb. Unlike animals, human thumbs are incredibly flexible, allowing us to hold and write, thus making us more developed than other animal species. Gun angrily asks the bodyguard why he's only speaking now. The bodyguard replies curtly that no one has ever asked him before. Gun seems to understand something and immediately runs back to the supervisory board's office to tell everything to the head of the board. Unexpectedly, the head of the board also knows this. Humans evolved from the thumb. CT scanners use the thumb so that victims cannot hold anything to resist. He knew this when he saw a senior officer apprehending a criminal. Gun wonders who that is. The head of the board replies, "It's your father." On the other side, Lawyer Han calls her husband to the house to talk. She suspecting her husband's help to the deputy minister wasn't simply to investigate the organization of the assassin. He also admitted to his wife that his purpose was revenge. Lawyer Run wanted to torture the deputy minister in the same way the assassin T had tortured him 7 years ago. Lawyer Han still didn't understand the seriousness of her husband's words, thinking he was blinded by hatred and that he could still be reasoned with, so she continued to support him wholeheartedly. Afterwards, the two went to see the head of department to negotiate about the deputy minister's matter. Lawyer Run wanted the head of department to transfer the deputy minister to the office. The prison conditions were better and he was regularly given blood pressure medication. Chief Rowe smiled as he accepted the bag of medicine. Then Lawyer Run stated his condition for the exchange. He would help Chief Rowe catch a notorious corrupt criminal. Once the job was done, he hoped Chief Rowe would agree to release the deputy minister. Chief Rowe nodded in agreement. After seeing Lawyer Han and his wife off, he took the bottle of medicine and asked Zun to check it. However, Zun later confirmed that the medicine was completely fine. At this moment, Dangan brought it to him. The head of the investigation reports on the deceased police officer and the lightning strike master who is currently hospitalized. Before becoming police officers and working for the heroic tribe, these two had previously received treatment in the neurology department of a Dongan hospital. It is suspected that they encountered the first lightning strike master of the heroic tribe there. They were introduced to the ideology and invited to join the heroic tribe. Dongan wants to take Zun there for a reason, to obtain the medical records of these two and check if any other police officers had been treated there. Later, both of them arrive at Dongan to confront him. Running inside to investigate, they discovered that the hospital had ceased operations 2 weeks prior and then reopened. The neurologist who treated the police officer and the investigator had also disappeared since then. Jong Gun and So Jun brought this back to the chief, who had also investigated and found that Lawyer Jun had returned to the country about 2 weeks prior. This couldn't be a coincidence. The chief sent Jong Gun to the regional medical center because they thought the police officer and the investigator's medical records might still be stored there. However, when Jong Gun went there to inquire, the medical records of these two people were taken, and unexpectedly, the person who took them was Lawyer Jun. Jong Gun went to find him to ask about it. Lawyer Jun happily led Jong Gun back to his office to retrieve them, but upon arrival, he immediately revealed his true colors. Lawyer Jun ordered his men to attack Jong Gun because he knew too much. Jong Gun was not easy to deal with. He snatched a baton and hit each of them. However, they were too numerous, causing Jong Gun to get injured and start staggering. One man held him tightly while the others took turns hitting him in the stomach. Jong Gun, enraged, unleashed an LCK out and knocked down the man who was controlling him. I took down all the thugs. Mr. Tien went to Lawyer Joy's place, wanting to take him to the police station for questioning. Lawyer Joy wasn't one to be trifled with. He rolled up his sleeves, revealing numerous needle marks. Unexpectedly, Lawyer Joy was also an addict. He pulled out a knife from under the table, but Mr. Tien immediately threw it several meters away. Lawyer Joy stood up, grabbed the knife, and pinned Jong Gun against the wall. Mr. Tien kicked him, sending him tumbling to the ground. Unexpectedly, the bastard had drugged the knife, causing Jong Gun to gradually lose consciousness and fall. Lawyer Joy, despite being punched in the mouth, could still laugh. DAC Thang, evening, Lawyer Han went to see the head of department. She recalled her husband's words from that morning about wanting revenge on the deputy minister and suspected he would do something terrible. The head of department also informed Lawyer Han of the investigation results. While in America, her husband had been arrested for drug use. He suspected Lawyer Jun was becoming corrupt and warned Lawyer Han to be careful. The next day, Lawyer Jun went to see the head of department, but the department chief was also present. She bluntly told Lawyer Jun that negotiations between him and the head of department would not be possible because the deputy minister was involved in an extremely serious case. More than just a corrupt criminal, the trembling lawyer mentioned that any criminal must be arrested. You can't let one person go because of another. After the chief left, the trembling lawyer sat down and talked to the head of the department, asking why the agreement wasn't accepted. The head of the department told him that Lawyer Han had admitted that Lawyer Run wanted revenge on the deputy minister. The head of the department found him suspicious and decided not to negotiate anymore. After hearing this, the trembling lawyer angrily left. Later, he brought a few henchmen to Lawyer Han's place to take revenge because she revealed the truth to the head of the department. At that moment, Lawyer Han also received a warning call from the head of the department. She immediately crawled under the table and texted the head of the department that her husband had gone mad. Unfortunately, Lawyer Han was discovered by her husband. Upon receiving the message, The head of the department knew something was wrong. He immediately rushed to Lawyer Han's house, but she had suddenly disappeared. The head of the department received a call from Lawyer Jun wanting to continue negotiations about releasing the deputy minister. The head of the department said one word, "No," and hung up, making Lawyer Jun extremely angry. He sent the head of the department a picture. The image shows Gong Gan and Lawyer Han being blindfolded. Then they call back the head of Department D. However, his answer remains the same. The head of Department D orders Zun and Wei to quickly locate Gong Gan's position, while he will go back and talk to the deputy minister. He is certain that the deputy minister is also involved in this kidnapping. In the interrogation room, the head of Department D gives Lawyer Run's bottle of medicine to the deputy minister, who drinks it without thinking. Only then does the head of Department D hang up the camera and ask if the deputy minister planned the kidnapping with Lawyer Run. He directly admitted that if the deputy minister was released, the other two would be safe. He even devised a way to get the chief of the committee to release him without anyone questioning it. Unexpectedly, the deputy minister collapsed to the ground, writhing in pain. The chief of the committee told him that he had mixed some poison into the lawyer's blood pressure medication. The trembling deputy minister talked about the principle of sacrificing something small to gain something great, ready to let the judge kill someone to catch a criminal. This time, the chief of the committee also followed that method, killing the deputy minister to catch the lawyer. Lawyer Run returns to investigate. He asks the deputy minister one last question. Who killed Zong Gan's mother 15 years ago? The deputy minister struggles and refuses to speak. The head of the investigation team ignores him and leaves. At this time, Lawyer Run is holding Zong Gan captive, and his wife wants to cut off Lawyer Han's finger to take revenge for what happened 7 years ago, because she told the judge to cut off her finger. Lawyer Han agrees to pay the debt but asks Lawyer Run to release Zong Gan. He changes his mind again, seeing his wife caring for another man instead of doing the same for him. 7 years ago, Lawyer Run wanted to cut off Zong Gan's finger. Lawyer Han shouted loudly. He stopped. It turned out Lawyer Run only wanted to play a little prank. On the other side, Chief Rowe returned to the interrogation room carrying something called an antidote. If the deputy minister wanted to live, he had to tell him how to contact Lawyer Run. He gestured that he had a phone in his jacket pocket. Unexpectedly, the deputy minister even managed to bring a phone into the prison. After this incident, Chief Rowe would investigate that place. He took the deputy minister's phone, found Lawyer Run's number, and sent it to Run, telling her to locate this number to find him. Run used that and indeed found the place where Dong Gan was being held. Lock her up, report back to Chief Du, then go there with Lawyer Han's bodyguard. Chief R also calls Lawyer Run, saying the police are coming to him. Chief R will give Lawyer Run a way out because he still needs him to catch the corrupt criminal. Lawyer Run's face changed after hearing this. He knelt down and apologized to his wife, saying that hatred had blinded him and caused such things. Lawyer Han knew her husband's purpose was only to take revenge on her and the deputy minister. She advised Lawyer Run to stop. He apologized in a calm voice and used his shirt to bandage the bloodstain. After that, the lawyer trembled and left. Dong Gan, with his arrogant mouth, still wanted him to stay and fight him to show he was a real man. Lawyer Jun didn't even turn around. As soon as he left, Jun and the bodyguard arrived. They untied Dong Gan first, and he immediately led Jun to chase after Lawyer Jun, leaving the bodyguard to take care of Lawyer Han. The two followed Lawyer Jun's location to a phone booth. They discovered he had left his phone there. Suddenly, the phone rang. Lawyer Jun knew Dong Gan was following him and told him to come to a house. The abandoned warehouse is here. Lawyer Han will receive the favor of the person behind Deputy Minister Gong. Don't be afraid. This is a trap. If you don't go into the tiger's den, who will? Another side. The dying deputy minister points to the bottle of medicine on the table. The head of the committee almost forgot. He's hooked. He quickly draws a vein for the deputy minister, but he wants to ask the deputy minister where the last item on the blacklist is. The deputy minister shakes his head. The head of the committee is about to leave. The deputy minister is forced to say the word go. The head of the committee understands immediately. The deputy minister hid the blacklist in a box of sticks. He calls for emergency services and gives the deputy minister an injection. The deputy minister was taken away. Chief Rowe went to see Captain Zhang and asked him to help arrest the criminals. Then Chief Rowe informed Zhong Gan and Sojin to wait in the warehouse. He would send reinforcements. But Zhong Gan couldn't wait. He borrowed Sojin's stun gun and wanted to go inside to check first. Sojin tried to stop him but couldn't, so he had to wait in the car. Zhong Gan, wielding a stick, stormed in and saw the thugs writing a suicide note for the lawyer. Trembling, he immediately guessed they were waiting for the lawyer to arrive so they could murder him and then fabricate a case. The thugs surrounded Dong Gun and tried to beat him up, but Dong Gun fought them off, swinging and jumping like Spider-Man, then using his stick to knock each one down. Despite their numbers, the whole gang was useless. Each one fell before Dong Gun's stick. Almost finished, Captain Zhang arrived. The police only needed to arrest Dong Gun, so he calmly left. After returning to the police station, Dong Gun went to find Chief Ro and found him rummaging through a box of sticks. Dong Gun wondered what Chief Ro was looking for, but Chief Ro didn't say. Dong Gun got angry. Leaving the office, the head of the department also obtained what he needed: a USB containing the black notebook, which the deputy minister had hidden in a box of batons. He brought Lawyer Han with him to find the department head, and coincidentally met the bureau chief leaving his office. He had come to pressure the department head to stop the supervisory investigation into the black notebook. The head of the department looked at the bureau chief sarcastically. This time he couldn't escape either, because the bureau chief's name was also in the black notebook. After the bureau chief left, the department head led the lawyer and the head of the department into the room to convey the warning from the bureau chief. The head of the department took out the black notebook, several photos of the director's illegitimate daughter with her lover. He used his daughter's name to buy real estate and launder money amounting to 1 billion won. Now that we have the director's weakness, why let him off the hook? Chief Du also has the blacklist. He wants to arrest all corrupt officials. The department head approves. Because her name isn't in the blacklist, Chief Du and Lawyer Han excuse themselves and leave. Then the department head calls the director to inform him that he has the director's weakness, and the director's position is now in jeopardy. It's hard to keep it, so don't affect the investigation supervisory board. The lawyer, trembling, went to the hospital to take revenge on the deputy minister and the investigator, but as soon as he pulled out the document, Dong Gun rushed in with a gun, bringing Captain Zhang along to arrest the lawyer. He was taken to the station without being able to act. In the interrogation room, Dong Gun asked about the medical records of the police officer and the investigator in the neurology department of the hospital. Lawyer Zhang admitted to taking it, but said someone from the Hero Society had erased all the data inside. Dong Gun wanted to know more about the Hero Society, but Lawyer Zhang also. There is no information after leaving the interrogation room. Dong Gun meets Captain Zhang's daughter. He asks her about it, and the little girl praises her father profusely, saying that Captain Zhang only goes to catch criminals for the sake of his family. Dong Gun takes Captain Zhang's daughter to the supervisory board office and asks why she said that. Captain Zhang's daughter recounts that 15 years ago, a criminal attacked her family's house. At that time, only she was home, and the criminal cut her index finger. Because of this, Captain Zhang and his ex-wife divorced, and he swore to catch the criminal. Eliminate all criminals in the country at all costs. Dong Gun lets Captain Zhang's daughter go first. Sitting and pondering, he remembers the second criminal who died in the serial murder case. Realizing something, Dong Gun immediately takes the victim's photo and asks the prison warden. Looking at the warden, he recognizes the victim as the criminal he and Captain Zhang arrested 15 years ago. The criminal then escaped from prison and caused trouble at the captain's house. Dong Gun wonders if the police tortured the criminal by cutting off his fingers. The warden confirms the person doing that was Captain Zhang. He learned the method passed down from his father, Dong Gun. Finally, Dong Gun found out who the first police officer in the group of brave men was and who killed his mother. Dong Gun walked dejectedly in the rain, thinking about what he should do next. Meanwhile, Captain Zhang met his daughter. She told her father about meeting a handsome man at the supervisory board's office. Captain Zhang immediately ran to find Dong Gun, but he wasn't at the office. He saw a picture of the second victim in the murder case, a series of disappearances. Captain Zhang thought Dong Gun understood everything. He hurriedly went to look for Dong Gun but couldn't find him. That evening, Captain Zhang returned home and heard his wife say a young man had come to see him. He immediately ran into his daughter's room and saw Dong Gun reading a story to the little girl. Captain Zhang couldn't help but feel scared, but Dong Gun wasn't the kind of person to harm children. He wanted to go outside with Captain Zhang to talk and ask why he had killed his mother 15 years ago. 15 years ago, Dong Gun's father returned home and picked up the black dog. The ventilation pipe then bid farewell to his wife and children and left so as not to implicate them. Immediately after he left, someone knocked on the door. Mother Dong Gun recognized it as Captain Jiang, but following her husband's instructions not to let anyone into the house, she was surprised when Captain Jiang broke down the door and rushed in. Mother Gonggun, frightened, grabbed a knife. Captain Jiang only wanted to find the black book and advised her not to get agitated, but Mother Gonggun couldn't control herself and directly lunged at Captain Jiang. During the struggle, the knife accidentally stabbed her. Captain Jiang didn't do it intentionally. It happened at that moment. Gonggun saw the frightened boy and hid in the bathroom. Captain Jiang advised Gonggun to forget everything. Tonight, if he didn't want to end up like his mother, because he was too scared and his memories were muddled, Captain Jiang couldn't find the black book and was about to leave when he suddenly heard the phone ring. It was the head of the department calling, saying he would come to the house to find Gonggun's father in a few minutes to arrest him. Captain Jiang immediately left. Gonggun rushed out and hugged his mother, crying, but she had lost too much blood and didn't make it. Later, the head of the department arrived, and Gonggun was terrified again. Hiding in the bathroom, Gonggun mistakenly thought the team leader was the murderer of his mother. Returning to reality, Captain Jiang put his daughter to sleep and then went to the living room to talk to Gonggun. He immediately sent his wife to buy alcohol to prevent her from hearing their conversation, fearing that Gonggun would record it as evidence. Captain Jiang carefully told him to put the phone on the table. Only then did he confess that he was the one who killed Gonggun's mother. But it was only an accident, so Gonggun was spared. Even though Gonggun would recognize him later every time he faced him. Captain Gonggun was afraid that he would realize he was the one who killed his mother all those years ago, but luckily, Gonggun only now discovered that Captain Zhong's attitude was extremely sincere in repentance. Gonggun advised him to turn himself in, but Captain Zhong refused because that would make his daughter the child of a police officer who committed murder. Gonggun asked Captain Zhong, "So what if you've been the child of a murderer for the past 15 years? Captain Zhong promised to compensate by helping Gonggun catch the gang of thugs, after which he would be promoted. He then told him everything. I know about the Heroes Guild and told him, but Gonggun doesn't need that. He only wants to clear his deceased father's name. The two of them couldn't achieve their common goal, and a conflict arose. Just then, Captain Zhang's wife returned. Gonggun asked permission to leave first, giving her more time to think. He didn't want their feud to affect those around them. As soon as Gonggun left, Captain Zhang ordered his wife to take their daughter to visit her parents for a few days. The wife didn't understand, but seeing her husband's tense demeanor, she had no choice but to comply. On the other side, the head of the R team, knowing about Gonggun's situation, searched everywhere for him. He located Gonggun near Captain Jiang's house. The head of the R team rushed there and called, advising Gonggun not to do anything rash. Gonggun recounted the truth from 15 years ago to the head of the R team, surprising him greatly. After hanging up, Gonggun was ambushed by two men. He calmly dealt with both of them and stole their phones. Seeing a message about a car waiting, Gonggun asked the name of the woman who had arrived. Fearing further assault, the man initiated the attack. After that, Gonggun crept to the car, rushed inside, and ambushed the three thugs. They were caught off guard and were quickly subdued. Gonggun snatched the phone and received a call from the person who ordered the attack. Unexpectedly, Captain Zhang, who had just been begging for mercy, had now turned against him and hired people to attack Gonggun. Knowing the thugs had failed, he quickly prepared Plan B. Captain Zhang tore off his clothes and staged a fake fight in the room, pretending that Gonggun had come to cause trouble and forced him to attack, but the head of the police department arrived first, causing Captain Zhang's plan to fall apart. He advised Captain Zhang to turn back, but Captain Zhang still used his family and children as an excuse, claiming he killed criminals only to protect them. The head of the police department then asked, why did Gonggun's mother have to die? He still said it was an accident. At that moment, Gonggun opened the door and walked in, pointing a gun at him. The head of the police department tried to stop them, but they couldn't, so he also pulled out his gun. 3 guns pointed at each other. The head of the police department then tried to persuade Gonggun's parents, saying they didn't want him to become a murderer. Gonggun still has to clear his father's name. He can't let him suffer in vain. The head of the interrogation department promised to find a way to make Captain Zhang pay the price, but he seemed unrepentant, saying that the evidence in all the cases was gone. Gonggun angrily hit Captain Zhang, knocking him unconscious. He then gave the head of the interrogation department a chance, hoping the head of the interrogation department would help him get justice. Finally, the head of the interrogation department's advice worked. Gonggun hasn't killed anyone yet. After being taken to the interrogation room, Captain Zhang still maintained his composure. The school had evidence, so they went to talk, leaving the head of the committee and Gonggun with no other option. They returned to the office to discuss finding evidence to incriminate Captain Zhang. The head of the committee remembered that 15 years ago, Captain Zhang had to borrow money to pay for his house, but on the day his daughter had a finger transplant surgery, he had enough money for the hospital fees. The head of the committee suspected Captain Zhang had received money from the Warriors Association. From then on, he told Zun to investigate the source of the money. Donggun was sent home to rest. "You've been working too hard these past few days, and you're injured too," Donggun said. "I had to return before I ran back to report to the head of the department that I had found the person who sponsored the surgery for Captain Zhang's daughter, and that was the deputy minister. The head of the department sent me back first, and he would interrogate the deputy minister alone in the interrogation room. The head of the department revealed his suspicions. The deputy minister was the one who mobilized the police to form the heroic squad. Now the deputy minister no longer denies it. He said that the heroic squad exists throughout the country, all of them elite detectives selected from the police force, with the goal of killing criminals who are beyond the law." The chief of the investigation department had a question. Was the lightning strike that occurred during the serial murder case orchestrated by the deputy minister? He admitted it because the lightning strike accidentally uncovered a conversation between the deputy minister and Captain Zhang. The chief of the investigation department was angry and asked who else was in the group of heroes. Unexpectedly, after obtaining the blacklist, the chief of the investigation department discovered that the deputy minister had erased all the names from the group of heroes. However, even the deputy minister wouldn't say. Suddenly, the chief of the investigation department received a call from his superior, the department chief, requesting the release of the deputy minister. He was placed under investigation without detention. The head of the committee knew that the deputy minister was still cooperating with someone before he left. The head of the committee wanted to ask a question. Who was the real owner of the Warriors Association? The deputy minister answered someone the head of the committee also knew, causing him great confusion. At this time, Lawyer Han returned home and discovered someone's finger on the table. She quickly called her bodyguard and checked it, then asked him to bring it for examination. The next day, Lawyer Han went to the supervisory committee office and unexpectedly found the murder weapon left at the head of the committee's place. The Warriors Association wanted to confirm their involvement. There were still people later bringing the forensic results, which showed the janitor's finger had 3 other bloodstains on it, awaiting analysis. Perhaps the group of warriors wanted to declare war on the supervisory board. The head of the board warned everyone to be careful. On the other side, Donggun received a phone call from the deputy minister saying that he had evidence in the case of his mother's murder 15 years ago. Donggun rushed there to get it, but when he reached the door, the security guard at the apartment building brought a letter addressed to his father. Unexpectedly, his father still kept a safe deposit box at the bank. Years ago, the deadline to retrieve the evidence arrived, so the bank sent a letter to Donggun. He brought this matter to the head of Department D, along with the fact that the evidence from the 15-year-old case was in the hands of the deputy minister. The head of Department D told Donggun to bring Lawyer Han to the bank to retrieve the evidence first. The deputy minister would handle the rest later. Later, Donggun and his lawyer arrived. The staff retrieved the safe that Donggun's father had kept for 15 years. Inside were a voice recorder and a letter. Donggun opened the recorder and listened. To his astonishment, his father admitted to creating the war. The deputy minister was merely an assistant to him in realizing his ideal of eliminating all criminals in the country. The final evidence his father left for Donggun was the original copy of the Black Notebook, which could expose all the truth about the heroic society. Donggun decided what to do with it. Later, Donggun brought the things his father left behind to the head of the committee. He wanted to reveal the truth about the heroic society, so the head of the committee handed the evidence back to Donggun. Donggun had to do it himself. He still needed time to think. The next day, Donggun went to find the deputy minister of law. Lawyer Han also followed. Unexpectedly, when everyone entered the house, the deputy minister had died of a heart attack. The culprit died in such a ridiculous way, leaving Donggun extremely disappointed. Lawyer Han also informed the head of the department, who could only laugh helplessly. The deputy minister had passed away, and the department head requested the head of the department to close the case peacefully, but he still had many doubts and had to investigate further. In the forensic room, the doctor concluded that it was indeed a stroke that led to death. If it was someone from the Warriors Association who committed the murder, how could the finger be intact? Donggun checked the deputy minister's toes, but they were still intact. Suddenly, he remembered that there were many needle marks at the scene, but the deputy minister's feet were extremely clean. Perhaps this wasn't simply a seizure, but a conspiracy. Donggun immediately ran to investigate. He and Sojin brought the report to the chief. Between the deputy minister's toes, there was a needle mark. Perhaps the poison was injected there. Before dying, the deputy minister contacted Captain Jiang, the police chief, and several people at the General Police Department. Chief Jun go investigate the alibi of those people. He asks Jongin for another detail. Did the deputy minister's glasses fall off at the scene? Jongin confirms that the chief of the investigation led the two of them there to check again. It turned out that before that, Jung Banzo had applied a special fluorescent powder to the deputy minister's glasses. Once it got on someone, it couldn't be wiped off. They would use a lamp containing ultraviolet rays to make the fluorescent powder glow. The three of them discovered that there had been a fight there, and they were certain that the deputy minister was murdered. The culprit would also still have fluorescent powder on him. Jongin immediately went to find someone he suspected, Captain Jiang first. However, when he shone the beam of light on him, Jongin didn't detect anything. But when he returned to the car, Sojin told him he turned on the light incorrectly. As soon as the beam of light came on, fluorescent powder was all over Jongin's hands. It must have been the contact with Captain Jiang that caused it. He quickly ran to his house, but when he arrived, he only found fluorescent powder still stuck on the doorknob, and Captain Jiang's daughter is on board, but he has disappeared. Dongin knows that Captain Jiang will go to a certain place, which is his house. Captain Jiang came here to ask Jongin for forgiveness for what happened 15 years ago. Just a confession would be enough, but as before, Captain Jiang didn't want his family to be shamed, so the two continued to clash. Jongin said that if Captain Jiang confessed, he would still have a chance to see his daughter, unlike Bongin's father who only saw his son for one day before dying. Captain Jiang's words were like water off a duck's back. Jongin had to. They beat him until he regained consciousness. Finally, Captain Jiang lost and was dragged back to the police station by Jongin. Upon arriving, Jongin heard that Chief Du was still at the deputy minister's house, so he immediately went there. Chief Du was trying to find the murder weapon used to kill Jongin's mother 15 years ago to incriminate Captain Jiang. After a while of searching, they discovered air hidden in a fish cage under the lake. Jongin hastily jumped in, and Chief Du said that all they needed to do was pull the fish cage to get it ashore. Finally, the evidence was found. At this time, Captain Jiang was taken to the interrogation room. Besides the charge of murdering the deputy minister, he didn't accept anything. They kept demanding evidence. When evidence was needed, there was evidence. Lawyer Han informed Captain Jiang Jongin and Chief Rose that they had found evidence in Jongin's mother's case from 15 years ago, causing Captain Jiang to start worrying. The next day, Chief Rose held a press conference revealing the whole truth about the Lightning Police organization. The organization, called the Heroic Society, was founded by the deputy minister and Jongin's father to eliminate criminals who were not prosecuted by law, but it was to cover up the crimes of the Lightning Police themselves, who were involved in corruption, bribery, and kickbacks. Every dirty job has a boss. The chief of staff also exonerated Jan's father in the 15-year-old case, pointing out the real culprit was Captain Jiang. He also admitted to fabricating evidence in the case. Journalists wondered who the members of the group of lawyers were, and who the corrupt officials were. This will be reported. A blacklist will be sent to Congress via email, and they will announce it later. The director is sitting and drinking tea with the department head. After watching the news, he turned pale and was about to leave when the police blocked the door. Captain Jiang was also taken away. He was sentenced before leaving. Luckily, he was released. He was allowed to see his daughter one last time. By now, the captain also knows how to write the word regret. The story isn't over yet because the lightning strike hasn't caught everyone. The chief of the police force continues to operate the supervisory board. 4 veteran members return to one roof. Those who use the name of justice to commit illegal acts will ultimately face appropriate punishment. To be a clean and honest person is only possible if your hands are not stained with blood. Teammates who do bad things must be severely punished. No one should be covered up. And the supervisory board, it was established for that purpose. What if our country also had a supervisory board? The film ends here. See you again in the next clips on the channel. Bye bye.